Do you wish to have some time, or do you wish to go now?
No, sir, I'm all set. I can go.
Okay, you may inquire. But just stay by the microphone though, okay? We want to make, not in between the, if you need to, okay, just don't wander.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unless if you want to cross the well, please ask permission to the
Of
court.
course, Your Honor. Mr. Pantelis, when is the last time I attempted to interact with you?
On my birthday of 2016.
Okay, so that was December 12th, 2016, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, when is the last time I've even ever seen you outside of court?
Not too long ago, on the roads.
Really? Well, actually, my question wasn't last time you've seen me. My question was last time I've seen you, and we all know that I haven't seen you because I testified to it earlier in February, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
So you're saying that I haven't interacted with you whatsoever, nor substantially seen you ever, other than you seeing me in my own private space on the road since December 12th, 2016, correct?
I believe you've seen me.
Okay. So I've never attempted to interact with you, nor seen you off of the road since December 2016, correct?
No.
Okay. Mr. Pantelis, do you feel as though you've been stalked?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Please tell this court the last time you were stalked by me.
I continue to be being stalked every day.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Pantelis. My question was actually, please tell this court the last time, as in time and date, that you were stalked by me.
Objection. Legal calls for a legal conclusion.
Well, Your Honor, she just told this court that she's been stalked. Every single day she's being stalked by me.
We can ask her to give an example from the last time.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pantelis, what was the last time that I stalked you?
You have continued to follow me up on all of my social medias, and you have continued to send letters to my teachers, and my family, and
Well, actually, Mr. Pantelis, I only sent letters.
I'm sorry. Just let her answer, okay?
Is it a rule you can't interrupt? I'm not sure about that. Can you interrupt?
She's
Because
given an answer. I
Okay.
think you've asked her a question, and she's answering the
Yes,
question.
Your Honor.
So, simply because you don't like the answer, it's not
Well,
a
of
reason to
course.
cut off the answer. Okay, so just allow the witness an opportunity to answer the question, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Is it an objectable occurrence if someone interrupts you in cross-examination? I just want to make sure that the standard is equally applied.
Well, in the middle of the witness's answer, if it's not responsive, that may be an appropriate interruption.
Okay.
But the witness has given apparently some very specific examples
Okay.
in response to your question, so please allow the witness to continue to answer the question, okay?
So, Mr. Pantelis, you're willing to tell everyone publicly that you continue to be stalked by me because you speculate that I view your public social media accounts, correct?
it's not speculation, you do.
Okay. When is the last time that you know I have looked at one of your social media accounts?
The last time you've taken a screenshot.
Right. And was that for legal purposes to defend myself from false stalking accusations, if I recall correctly?
You do not need pictures as evidence of nothing.
Really?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like the record reflect that the witness has just said that I do not need any pictures as evidence to disprove the accusation of
Of
stalking.
my social life and me and my relationship.
Mr. Pantelis, was your response insinuating that I'm a stalker for looking at your social media accounts limited to the certain types of pictures, or was it just in any instance of looking at your social media account?
In any instance, you should not be following up on my life still.
Oh, then you can agree with me then that my note to this court that you just said that my viewing, that there's no images on your social media account which would be profitable to defending myself against false accusations. Do you stand by that statement?
Objection. That's
Sustained, that's,
You've never been stalked by me whatsoever, neither before the order nor subsequently.
that's a compound question, so ask one and then ask the other.
You've never been stalked by me whatsoever before the order was issued.
You have 100% been stalked. I've been stalked by you.
You've never been stalked by me whatsoever since the order was issued as well.
I have been stalked by you.
Mr. Pantelis, I'm a bit confused at this point in time. You said just now that you've been stalked by me since the order is issued, yet you cannot name one single instance since the order has been issued in which you've been stalked.
You have violated the stalking order. That is continuing to stalk.
Please reference a criminal conviction of me violating the order.
You are going to be on trial.
Mr. Pamphilis, I'm sorry to inform you that false accusations of me violating the order do not enable you to accuse me of violating the order, correct?
I wasn't accusing you.
You did, because you just said that I was arrested for violating it. Well, no, you said that I violated it, making reference to the fact that I was arrested.
I believe you violated it.
Okay. So, Mr. Pamphilis, that sort of goes on to my next question. If someone were, following you around and you didn't want it and it was creepy, you would feel stalked, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Say now that there's a guy sort of outside your bedroom window and he's creeping in on your private space, trying to look at you. We would also say that you've been stalked in that case, right?
Yes.
Objection. Relevance.
How's this relevant?
Well, I'm asking her how she feels. That all of her testimony was based off of this, fluffy BS about feeling. Well, she feels stalked, so I'm trying to qualify what exactly is her feeling and how is that legally relevant. She made her feelings about stalking relevant.
We can make the legal arguments in the court, so I'm going to sustain the objection as to what may or may.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, what if, say, there was a guy who didn't talk to you or interact with you whatsoever, but what he did do was he went off and he communicated to other people expressing opinions that you disagree with, that you would also feel stalked by that, right?
Objection, Your Honor. This is far afield of.
Well, if you want to give the specific example, I'll sustain the objection. But if we're talking about the letters, you may inquire about that. But
Right.
Okay, so if you want to, you may do that, okay?
So, Mr. Pamphilis, is someone saying a comment about you that you believe to be defamatory? Is that an instance of stalking?
I believe that anyone can say something, but when you're publicly saying it, then it is.
Okay. Your father has said things about me which are false, therefore your father is a stalker, correct?
Objection.
No.
Sustain.
Mr. Pamphilis, I'm very confused. You just said that any public defamatory comment against you is stalking. You just said that. So how come if public defamatory comments against you are stalking, public defamatory comments against me aren't stalking?
Objection, Your Honor. I would urge him to get into specifics of this case.
I'll sustain the objection. And ma'am, if there's a question, wait, okay?
Okay.
Wait until the answer, wait until the question is complete,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
And then you can answer the question.
Mhm.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, after you expressed to me that you weren't interested in me when I asked you out to dinner and invited you and your mother, I actually never spoke a single word to you after that day. And that was, go ahead. And that was the first time that you expressed to me that I had expressed a romantic interest in you, correct?
You texted me after that. After you
I'm
left.
sorry, Mr. Pamphilis, my question was actually, that day was the first time I ever expressed a romantic interest in you, correct?
No.
Okay, please tell this court the times prior to that I expressed a romantic interest
In
in
the
you.
previous trial, we had, there was he brought up a time when he had a prom date and I was as beautiful as his prom date and he could have taken me to the prom date. And there was another time where he came into my room and there was a family gathering and I did not invite him into my room. And he made a comment about a movie of a Justin Bieber poster on my wall and said he wanted to take me to that movie.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, are two casual complimentary comments as friends between a 12-year-old who's a family friend of an 18-year-old, are those romantic overtures?
Yes, because I was not friends with you.
Oh. So do you think that the average person would think that a casual compliment that you look nice today is a romantic overture between an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old?
Yes.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of the hearing. He's talking about
Your Honor,
matters years ago.
a lot of...
I think it's an issue about average sensibilities and a reasonable person standard, so for that basis, overruled.
You were actually very happy to see me on December 12th, weren't you?
No. I had to put on a mask.
Excuse me, Mr. Pamphilis, I didn't ask the question.
She's answering a question.
So
Do you have,
I was at.
do you have a further answer?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
If he wants to believe that I was happy when I saw him, if I was angry, I did not know I don't want to know what his response or reaction in person was going to be. I had to put on a face as if this is okay when as soon as he closed the door, I ran into my mom's room and I was like, he's cute. Like, it was talked about, so when I said he, my mom knows who he is.
Mr. Pantelis, do you find it funny or odd that you have this dramatic rewriting of history, but you have this way of conveying that I was some sort of threatening person when I was your kind friend and there was never any sort of cause to fear me whatsoever?
There were multiple causes, and you weren't my friend.
So is that why you came to my house the last time I had seen you before that day?
I was best friends with your sister. I was trying to separate my feelings towards you and my scare to continue being friends because she was my number one
Right.
best friend.
So you were so afraid of me, and I said hi to you once, I didn't speak another word to you, and you know, your dad was on the porch smoking cigars with me, but you were still afraid of me though, right?
Objection. Again, I think this is outside the scope.
Overruled.
We have tried to ignore it, and when it gets too much, we've had talks with you, we've tried to forgive you, we've tried to mediate with your parents, and I just wanted to continue staying friends with my best friend and not have to end it because of her older brother being like this.
Mr. Pantelis, there was actually never any time before December 12, 2016 that I had expressed romantic interest in you and your parents talked to me about it, correct?
I felt that you were expressing romantic interest before that day.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to give this?
We will let the CSO do that, okay? Thank you. What is this?
This is a text message that she sent to me. This was actually the last communication between me and this person.
Oh, is this marked as an exhibit?
Yes, sir, it's
It's
Exhibit
Exhibit A for identification. Do you have a copy for the court?
A. Yes, sir, it's actually Exhibit A. Oh, sorry, I didn't give you my exhibits yet. Your Honor, may I approach to give you my exhibits?
Yes. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we have these. So we're looking at Exhibit A for identification. Again, all these marked for identification at this point. Do you have that Exhibit A in front of you for identification? Okay, you may ask a question.
So, Mr. Pantelis, for some reason, I seem to be looking at a text message, and it is from your number, 603-965-578, right?
Yes,
Yeah, and it says, "Thank you, Paul," exclamation point, right?
yes,
Yeah, and you see the timestamp there, that was on the same day, the last time we interacted, the December 12th, 2016, right?
yes.
And when you sent that text message, that was kind of like an hour after I left with the car after the rejection, right?
You're leaving out the text. He's leaving out the text that he sent me before that, and I was replying to his text.
Mr. Pantelis, please answer the question.
Objection, she's answering the question.
I didn't just send that text because you brought me a car. I was responding to the happy birthday and the other things you were saying in that text because I did not want to leave it unanswered and have a reaction or you come to my house again saying I didn't answer or something.
Mr. Pantelis, it is absurd. It is absurd to insinuate that I would have come back to your house simply because you didn't respond to my kind text message, correct?
Well, you said when I was 18 that you were going to try to come back again.
Oh, I did say that?
Yes,
Okay. Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
Oh, okay. Mr. Pantelis, do I have your permission to play for this court the audio recording of the exchange in question?
No, because it is
Oh.
illegal.
Oh, because it's, oh no, actually, Mr. Pantelis, are you aware that it is not illegal whatsoever if you consent to its reproduction?
Your Honor, a little background here. Mr. DePamphilis has been convicted of illegally recording on that
Unfortunately, he
date.
hasn't, I was.
Excuse me, Mr. Maravelias was. So
I'm sorry,
he's proposing to play an illegal recording for which he's pled guilty. So
Your Honor, one of the layers of injustice here, there's so many, is that this stalking order was based off of false accusations that I had actual proof. When I asked this girl to dinner, I thought she was still a nice person. I should have listened to my sister. And I was taking an audio recording of it on my cell phone because I wanted to share it with her. Like, it was this cute little moment. I worked for it so long, Your Honor. I mean, I put in so much work into being nice to this girl and to give her a future and to buy her this amazing gift. And this is what she does to me in return. So when they lied about stalking, I said, oh, well, at least I have this audio recording. I can prove them wrong. So I came to court and they actually prevented me from playing that. Then they were just so angry at me that they went to the police.
well, is it a one-party recording?
Well, Your Honor, in New Hampshire, it's only one of 10 or 11 states where it's, unless you have everyone's consent, it's you need to have everyone's, it's a ridiculous law, but I didn't contest it, I was arrested for it. And the fact is, Whether or not it was illegal even under that statute is an argument. I argue it wasn't. I didn't
That's
fight
a
for
criminal
sure.
statute, correct?
Well, yes.
So
Your
how
Honor.
can you benefit from violating a criminal statute?
Because, Your Honor, if it's been violated, it's already been violated once. For me to reproduce that audio recording is a separate thing in the statute in RSA 570 from recording it
But
once.
isn't it illegal? So how can the court admit in good conscience something that is illegal?
Well, first of all, Your Honor, there is no, it is not illegal to reproduce that audio recording. The actual reproduction is a separate part of that statute. It would be a misdemeanor in New Hampshire for me to put that on the internet, for instance, without the recorded person's consent. I can just go to Norwich and Vermont where I do it. However, here we're in New Hampshire, so it would be illegal if I don't have her consent. So what we're looking at, Your Honor, is another example of obscurantism. I have the truth and it's being suppressed. And it's this
Well,
ridiculous.
does your client waive?
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor.
No. Does your client waive?
No.
Or any rights that she may have privacy with regard to this illegally collected recording?
No.
And that's precisely my point, Your Honor.
But, okay.
So, Mr. Pantelis, with the full knowledge that you could consent and it would be lawful to reproduce this audio recording, you are clarifying for this court that you do not consent to its reproduction, correct?
I do not consent.
Oh, okay. So, I read your motion to extend the order, and are you aware that the standard for stalking order extension is if it's good for your safety and well-being?
Yes.
Yeah. Are words that offend you threats to your safety and well-being?
Words, you're doing more than words to offend me.
Okay, please tell this court what beyond words I have done to offend you.
You've sent letter to my teachers and threatening to ruin my future.
Mr. Pantelis, I believe those are words, correct?
That is not, no, it's an action.
So you're saying that because I sent words which you found offensive, that's a danger to your safety and well-being, correct?
Your action was you sent an email to my teachers.
Yeah. Isn't that an expression of words?
Objection, Your Honor, has been answered.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pantelis, since there's no linkage between your complaint and my saying offensive things about your criminal actions, why are you here?
Objection. Argument that
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pantelis, since there's no linkage about my words being offensive to you and being dangerous to your personal safety, why are you here?
You are dangerous to my personal safety.
But didn't we just conclude that there's no substance for that beyond you being offended by my words?
No.
Okay, well then, but then you would be able to tell this court what beyond words would be, of my actions would be dangerous to your personal safety, isn't that right?
You continue to, you just don't stop. You continue to send letters threatening to ruin my career and my future, and it's scary.
How many times have I sent a letter threatening to ruin your career?
Well, you sent it once and then you followed through with it, so if I didn't have a stalking order, you would do more than that.
Actually, Mr. Pantelis, didn't we all believe yesterday that there was no stalking order anymore given the court's error?
objection, Your Honor, irrelevant.
What are you referring to?
Well, Your Honor, there was a clerical error in which you granted my motion to vacate this falsified stalking order in, no,
Can we find out what you're talking about?
Sure.
You have a copy of that?
Not with me, sir, no.
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you.
See it.
In Your Honor, the court.
Wait, just, let's get on the, make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. Okay, so it looks like motion to vacate, stalking order Derry, motion to extend granted, looks like S, I never signed that. Okay? It's not my,
Yes, of course, it wasn't your personal error, Your Honor. But the clerk called.
so it's a clerical error. And in fact, I would say that the staff, one of the staff members talked to me before about this and made me aware of this. And it also appears there was a correction to that. And my understanding to speak to our staff is that they even called both parties after they realized the error to let them know that there apparently there had been a clerical error, and so I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Well, Your Honor, she says this ridiculous thing
It was the
about...
same day, correct?
Well, no, Your Honor,
It
the
was a
call...
couple
I
days
got-
later, April 27th?
Yeah, it was like a solid 24 hours that I believe that I...
27th, well, that's a Friday. And then May 2nd is the following, I guess it was yesterday. Okay. So it took a few days to resolve that, but the parties were called, though, correct?
Yesterday, Your Honor.
Okay.
So, Mr. Pantelis, during these days in which I thought that I had my basic human and natural rights restored to me when this court properly corrected the erroneous order against me, did I compose any offensive words or share them with anybody, either on my website or sending any letters?
I am not aware.
Okay. But you were made aware of the other actions of free speech in my act, so it's you know, you would be aware of them, correct?
Objection.
Well, we
So
can...
what you're saying is between those days of April 27th and May 2nd, you did not stalk the,
Oh, no, I'm saying I
petition.
never stalked the petition.
oh, well, you didn't stalk the petition during those days?
Well, I'm saying more than that, Your Honor. I'm saying I didn't even exercise my free speech right to put absolutely everything on my webpage.
Well, you can ask her that.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pantelis, when's the last time you've seen the alleged website, what you call a website, davidtheliar.com?
I looked at it maybe a week ago.
Yeah. It's actually not a website, it's just a web page for my book, correct?
No, it's a website.
So there are multiple pages and it's this elaborate website, or is it just a homepage?
I don't know the definition, I don't know website page, like I don't,
It's a very bare bones page. It has some very, very,
it has links to
yeah.
documents.
How many documents are on that website?
Many. I
Oh,
don't
really?
know the number.
There's actually only 2 documents, so you lied about there being many,
Objection.
right?
Sustain question?
Yeah. So let's put it this way, if there were only 2 documents on that website, you know, that would be different from what you claim, correct?
There's not 2 documents, I mean documents like pages, there's lots of pages of stuff on there.
Okay. So what if there was only 1 page of stuff? You would be lying, right?
There isn't unless you deleted it.
Okay. So,
It's a link.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pantelis, do you have something to add?
There's a link, there's 2 links on there to
Yeah.
other pages.
Oh, that's right. Isn't there a link to your own motion to this court to extend this falsified stalking order?
Yes, and there's many
Yeah.
other things on there.
Actually, oh, well, let me ask you this. How many court documents, PDFs, links to documents, not web pages, are on that website?
I don't know.
Okay. Is there anything beyond your motion in this hearing and my objection to it?
I think there's letters to the attorney, I'm pretty sure. I don't know specifically, there's a lot of, you put almost everything we shared between my attorney and you in surrounding this entire case on
Right.
there.
So, Mr. Pantelis, you said that that makes you feel uncomfortable, correct?
Yes,
Yeah. Well, but if your accusations of stalking against me are true, why would you be uncomfortable for me to publicize your already public court documents?
because you're also publicizing the fact that it's fraudulent.
Thank you for admitting that it's fraudulent. My next question
Objection,
is...
mischaracterization of the testimony.
Well, the court doesn't consider that as evidence.
I just want to let the record reflect, Your Honor. If that's not an admission, then neither is when something they claim. They still apparently think I wrote that March letter. This woman just
You
said...
added the term that her response was fraudulent. That was the objection. So I'm going to sustain that objection, unless I misunderstood.
I was just saying that he has posted things claiming that my stalking order is fraudulent. I'm not saying that it's fraudulent.
That
Yeah.
was my understanding
Yes.
of what you meant by that.
Yes.
It was just a semantic error, but in that case, Your
Well,
Honor...
it's more than a semantic error. I mean, it's a very crucial issue.
Well, yes, Your Honor, but the original quote from the plaintiff was, I forget her exact words, but she said something like, I was bothered because you were showing that it was fraudulent. I think maybe she
No, that is
misworded it. But if the court's going to understand her intention and not literally take her
It's
words...
not an issue of intention, it's an issue of context of her answer. Okay, the context. I just watched My Cousin Vinny, I want to say a month or 2 ago. And have you ever seen the movie?
I haven't, sir.
Well, his cousin is arrested for a homicide in Georgia or someplace. And the police are questioning him and they say something like, And then you shot the store clerk. The guy says, I then shot the store clerk, I then shot the store clerk. So context is important, okay? I'm not saying that that's a precedent for the case. I'm just saying that's an example of context. When this witness answered that, it wasn't in the context that she admits that it was fraudulent, okay? And that she did it fraudulently.
Yes,
It's
sir.
only
Yes,
that,
sir. And that's one of my arguments, because,
only that you
Yeah.
have indicated apparently on social media that her representations are fraudulent.
correct. Thank
Is
you.
that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, you've exercised your free speech rights to call me a stalker, correct?
Where?
On December 28, 2016, you went to Salem District Court at the behest of your father to file a stalking petition against me.
I chose to do that myself.
Yep. Mr. Pamphilis, my question was, you've exercised your free speech rights to call me a stalker, correct?
In court, I was doing what I was believed to protect myself.
Yeah, it's a yes or no question, Mr. Pamphilis. Have you exercised your free speech rights to call me publicly a stalker?
Objection.
Well, we referred to the context of within the court system, is that what you referred to?
Any context, within the court
Or you can ask the
system?
question, it's kind of an open-ended question. You can ask it within the structure of the court system and the stalking, or has she gone on publicly and talked about that? So that might be a legitimate question.
Right.
So just
How about-
differentiate
yeah.
between the two.
How about outside the court system, Mr. Pamphilis? Have you ever called me a stalker outside of court proceedings and filings?
I have not named you.
Okay. So, Mr. Pamphilis, how come free speech that you find offensive makes me a stalker, but not vice versa?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. You're here because your dad made you, right?
Absolutely not. This is my choice, and if I
Right.
don't,
Wait, can she finish?
Are you finished with the question?
I'm here to be protected. My dad's not going to be with me my entire side to be my dad and protect me himself. I need legal documents to protect me.
Protect you from what, Mr. Pamphilis? From
You.
stalking, correct?
Yes.
But isn't there a difference between stalking and people speaking their free minds about your actions and accusations about them?
You can't do that when I have a stalking order against you.
Mr. Pamphilis, please cite the particular term of protection of the stalking order which injuncts against my free speech rights not pertaining to you or your family.
Objection. Calls for a legal conclusion.
Sustained.
Well, Your Honor, she's making these claims that the stalking order says things it doesn't.
I think you could make a valid argument, but you consider, maybe a valid argument under the law regarding free speech, okay? But you're asking this individual to give a legal opinion,
Okay.
okay? So I sustain the objection, but you can make that argument.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Mr. Pamphilis, legal conclusions aside, your personal feelings are that when I speak what I believe to be a fact that you have falsely accused me of stalking, as I've expressed to your teachers, and as I expressed to your attorney, and as I expressed to the person who wrote that letter, that expression in and of itself makes you feel stalked even more, correct?
Yes, because you are further talking about me.
Okay.
And
Well, but isn't it talking about really me, because it's your accusation versus me?
that trial's over with. You committed stalking, and I have an order against you.
Well, I committed stalking, so then how come you can't name a date and time when I committed stalking?
Objection.
Sustained.
When did I commit stalking, Mr. Pamphilis?
All of the times we went over in the past trial, such as my 8th grade graduation.
Oh. So is casually coming up to you and saying, hey, congratulations, stalking?
It is a way of misinterpreting
Oh,
situations.
misinterpreting.
Or telling them as if there's something that really didn't happen.
Mr. Pamphilis, can't we at least agree that that's your specialty?
No.
Objection.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, I'm just kind of curious, what is more dangerous for your, quote, safety and well-being? Me having my basic human rights restored to me at the expiration of this stalking order, or you driving home from a college party with a bottle of vodka in your left hand?
Objection. What is going on here?
Well, Your
This is
Honor,
completely
she's-
irrelevant and improper.
What I'm trying to do, Your Honor, is I'm trying to indicate for the court that this banter about, my safety, it's just delusional. And if I can show that for the court that this person is so reckless with their safety that they drive home from college parties with a bottle
What are
of
you
vodka.
referring to?
I'm referring to an exhibit that I
Which
did.
one?
Let's see here, the exhibit, well, I took off memory. I believe it was maybe I, or it's around I. I've given my exhibit to the court.
Looks like
It's one of those public
Looks
social
like
media
J.
posts.
for
Thank you, Your
identification.
Honor.
The statement used the women, please. Sorry.
No, it's, there it is, J.
How's this relevant?
It's relevant, Your Honor, because it shows that the character of this person is utter reckless disregard for her safety. So this whole device, this whole whining about safety is being used as a legal weapon against me to try to weaponize a stalking statute as a relief for what she believes to be defamation. She believes that I made defamatory comments. She believes that I falsely accused her of being a false accuser. Well, if she believes that, she can sue me. And I say, go for it, because I have all my proof that she's the false accuser. But what's very improper is what's currently happening is for a stalking order, which has to do with personal safety, to be usurped because these people's, their emotions are inflamed, is what's happening.
Your Honor, I object to the acceptance of this exhibit. It's not relevant.
Well,
It's-
it's been marked for identification, as J for identification. I'm going to sustain your objection. It's not a proper, I don't think it's a proper question, it's not relevant.
Thank you.
But still, for the record, I think it's important that we preserve the record, so it'd be J for identification.
Mr. Pantelis, we can at least agree that you've been very deceptive throughout your course of getting these stalking orders against me, correct?
No.
I want to take your memory back to the January 5th, 2017 hearing.
What date was that again?
January 5th, 2017. That was the first day of the stalking, of the original stalking.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I either approach or have the bailiff give this to?
Yes, certainly, if you have, thank you for doing that.
Which number is this?
That's not an exhibit, that's just transcript.
So I'm confused. Is this marked as a lettered exhibit?
That is not an exhibit, it's just a transcript that I'm going to show the plaintiff.
Well, why don't we mark this for identification, so this will be N, then for identification. Okay? Because I think it's important, again, that we preserve the record. And where is this transcript from? Do you lay a foundation?
It's from the, when we did the Supreme Court appeal, because my rights were violated with this ridiculous order, and then they didn't even hear my appeal to the Supreme Court because I didn't preserve the issues. I didn't know that. I'm just some dumb 21-year-old kid falsely accused of stalking. So the whole appeal was for nothing. But one thing I did get out of my $10,000 that I should be reimbursed for is a copy of the transcripts of those original hearings.
Can I see that then? Thank you. So this is from a transcript from this case, or the case in
Yes.
Salem?
Yes, Your Honor, it's the same case.
And this is the trial?
That's correct.
Okay, so this looks like to be page 12 and marked N for identification. And you want to ask a question on this?
Yes, I'd like to have the plaintiff
So
actually.
who's asking the questions and who's answering the questions?
The Q is the old attorney, Jerome Blanchard, and the A is the plaintiff, is the same plaintiff.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this. Paul has wanted to relitigate Judge Stevens' prior order, and he obviously disagrees with it, and here he is again going back to try to go to the merits of that order. I understand that in deciding on whether to extend, the court needs to look and the circumstances surrounding that order, but it's not a situation where he can open it up again and relitigate whether Judge Stevens should have issued the order or not.
Well, I think I think you're right. The court does consider the underlying stalking petition. And if there's but I don't know what point the petition is trying to make at this point, so I'm gonna hold off on your objection, okay? So go ahead, you can set a foundation.
Should I set a foundation for this, or should I?
No, for this.
Oh,
Why
okay.
is this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a question about.
Well, I'm going to-
the underlying stalking petition.
Yeah.
And this is the transcript
Yeah.
of that trial. Okay, now you may proceed.
Well, am I talking to you, Your Honor, or are we going to?
Well, you can approach you can show the witness this.
Oh, okay, I don't
document.
have another copy, I can go.
Well, here, I got it, you can show me that.
Thank you.
Okay, and you can ask her a question on it.
Is there a page number on that?
It's page 12.
Thank you.
So, Mr.
Well, wait,
Pantelis,
just give the witness an opportunity to look at it. I think it's the highlighted area.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay, now you may ask your question.
Mr. Pantelis, can you please repeat for this court what you said on that in the highlighted area?
But not direct, because I'm like walking on eggshells, you never know what's going to set him off.
Right. So it's fair to say that you were trying to paint this picture of me as I'm just this deranged criminal, and any sort of, you can rub me the wrong way and I'll come beat you up, right?
It's how I felt, is what
Oh,
I
okay.
said.
So that's how you felt though, is if you like triggered me or set me off, made me angry, I could come hurt your physical safety, right?
I stand by what I said.
Okay. So, Your Honor, let the record indicate that the plaintiff claims to still perceive me in a way from last January to now, in a way that the slightest provocation against me, part of her fear for stalking is that I could come and beat her up at any time. So I have two more exhibits.
The record will not reflect that. I think the answer was, was what the recollection of the court is, okay? Not your perception, but what the court's understanding of her testimony is,
Yes,
okay?
of course.
Thank you. Can the court keep this then for?
Of course.
Okay, so this will be marked N for identification.
Thank you.
These marked?
They are, these aren't marked, these are already entered as exhibits.
Okay, what number, what letter are they?
This is Exhibit B,
Okay.
and this is Exhibit C.
Okay, let's go with one at a time. Let's start with B then, okay?
Sure. Mr. Pamphilis, for some reason, I'm looking at this picture, and this is a picture that you posted on one of your social media accounts in June, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you please tell the court who's in that picture?
It's my dad and my boyfriend.
Yeah. And we can agree that all three of you are, middle fingering the camera, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. What about your dad's left hand? Where is it?
I don't know.
Well, don't you see the other man on the right? Don't you see his shoulder? I mean, unless there's just like a random floating severed finger there, that's your dad's hand, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So in other words, your dad's right hand's middle finger and his left hand is like given like a pat on the back to the other man, right?
No, that's just how you take a picture. You put your arm around someone,
Yeah.
like, that's how you do it.
So you were really trying to get my attention with that post that you made against me, right?
I already had your attention.
Okay. I mean, in that post, were you stalking me or were, just poking some lighthearted fun at me all in good humor? Which one was it?
Neither.
Oh, okay. So what were your intentions with that post?
To let you know that I knew you were stalking me on my profile.
Okay, so now you're equating viewing someone's public profile with stalking, correct?
When it's you and I already have a stalking order against you, yes.
Okay. Please tell this court any part of the stalking petition which prevents me from looking at public websites, public things that you would post to the internet.
I don't know how it relates legally, but that is how I
Okay.
feel.
So let's say that there's nothing whatsoever in the stalking order beyond saying I can't come near you or talk to you. We can agree that my looking at something on your webpage, your public account, is not an act of stalking, correct?
No.
Oh, we can't agree to that. But didn't we just establish that there's nothing in the order that deems that stalking, so which one is it?
I do not know.
Okay. What about your father? Do you consider him a stalker for repetitively and obsessively looking at my LinkedIn profile?
Objection. Relevance, argument.
Well, it's about her perception. It's not about whether or not David is a stalker. It's about whether or not she's being honest, about she's feeling stalked because I look at something that she's put on the internet to bully and harass me. It's like, who's the stalker?
Well, how's it relevant as to what her father?
Because if she doesn't hold her father to be a stalker for doing the same exact behavior against me, David DePamphilis was looking at my LinkedIn profile like every single day, and that was an exhibit I had in the other case. So I would expect maybe, I don't know if collateral estoppel is the right word, but in another case to which these people were a party, they argued that that wasn't an act of stalking to look at a public internet post on the internet that anyone could see. So if David DePamphilis isn't a stalker for doing that, then nor should I. And I don't think that is, I didn't even claim.
Well, that's a cause for a legal conclusion. I'm going to sustain the objection.
So, Mr. Pantelis, whose idea was it to post a picture on the internet directed towards me, middle fingering me, and in doing what you said the purpose was?
It was my idea, and I was the only one who decided about that and who knew about that. And I can be angry and scared at the same time.
So, Mr. Pantelis, you said that I live a mile and a half down the street from you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So first you say it's like walking on eggshells with me. You never know what's going to set me off. And then you go and you target me on social media, not only with all your middle fingers, but with your new boyfriend? Did you do that?
That is my boyfriend?
Yeah. So, but my question is, it is true to say that you claim that it's like walking on eggshells with me and you're afraid of me, and then you go on the internet and you post pictures directed towards me, which you just admit, which clearly are of a nature to insult and provoke and incite. So, does this court, do you think that this court should believe anything you say?
Objection. Argumentative, compound, confusing.
I'll sustain the objection that's argumentative, but you can ask him whether or not. I think he had a good point there in terms of posting this and the where it was posted and the circumstances and the context,
Right.
whether or not she felt a concern for her personal safety or well-being. I think that's good fodder. I think that's good cross-examination, but limited to that, not whether,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah. So if you really felt that you were afraid for your safety and you really believe that it's, quote, like walking on eggshells with me, you never know what's going to set me off, why would you identify me on the internet, middle finger me, not only yourself and your father, but your new boyfriend?
Well, for one, I did not identify you. That was for you and only you to understand because I knew you were stalking it. When I posted that, I had the protection of the stalking order. While before, I was constantly, and I still am because of what you are doing online, but I was constantly walking on eggshells before because I did not have that sense of protection. This was a way for me to somehow have a voice of my own because he always says that my dad made me do this or my dad made me do this as a way to cover up my own feelings and independency. And that was my way of showing him my frustration, but still being scared at the same time because you can't say that I'm not scared. That would be an assumption.
Your Honor, she's going beyond the question now.
Please continue.
I feel as if I should be able to let him know if he's going to constantly be on my social media that I know he's viewing it, and not anyone else is going to know that it's directed towards him unless they have no privacy and no information about him. But because I use Dartmouth and he went to school there. And I said that because I knew he would understand that and he would recognize that. But I had the protection of the stalking order behind me, and I could still speak my voice and stand up for myself and his actions that he's continued to do, and with this letter that was in March.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, actually, that stalking order has nothing to do with protecting you from me coming to beat you up, because that's illegal anyway, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, if that post were really intended for you to sort of highlight your independence as a strong feminist woman, then why did you involve your dad in it?
Objection. He's already answered.
No, Your Honor. She brought up this new excuse about, oh, I was trying to show my independence, and you know, she doesn't like when I bring up David. David is the author of all this. Everyone knows it, but she's going along with it. She's saying that, oh, I was trying to express how I'm fully behind my dad in the stalking accusations. And if that were true, she wouldn't have also had her dad come and middle finger me in that picture. So I'm asking her, that just doesn't make sense. It's a self-contradiction.
Well, then, you can ask the circumstances surrounding the photograph, okay, if you wish, and what the intent of posting the photograph, to include the persons depicted in the photograph.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, you said that you posted that photograph because you wanted to express your voice against me, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Is someone who is afraid for their safety concerned with, getting into a debate or an argument with the person they're scared about?
I was not getting into a debate.
Okay. Well, but if the stalking order was there to protect you and you still felt that it was like walking on eggshells with me, clearly you would never have posted such a picture, correct?
No, because I wanted to let you know that I stand my ground, and I'm not going to let you ruin my life.
Well, Mr. Pamphilis, if you wanted to communicate with me, nothing prevents you from using your attorney to submit those communications through him. So again, isn't there any sort of other purpose of that post that you're not acknowledging?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Well, it's a different question. Any other reasons that you haven't acknowledged it?
To let him know that I knew he was viewing my profile. And I wanted him to know that he was viewing my profile. And I also posted quotes like awareness quotes, like stop stalking. I think I posted about the month, and yes.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, I'm actually going to make reference to another exhibit. This is Exhibit C, I think. Yeah, this is Exhibit C.
C for identification?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to object to this one, Your Honor.
Well, let's take a look at that. What's the basis of the objection?
The basis of the objection is she just said that she made that post.
I was objecting.
Huh?
You asked for the basis for the objection.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Paul started answering, so.
Oh.
I thought you, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I
It's
thought
like
you
the
were talking
basis of the objection.
about the basis of the exhibit, sir.
All right.
Well, we'll get to that, but.
All right, well, this appears to be the post of someone other than the witness. So,
Your Honor, that's not true. It says the witness is a name and an account right there. It's a post that the witness posted of her boyfriend calling me out and identifying me, which contradicts what she just said. But this was absolutely a post on that same account of the plaintiff. It has her name right there. They match in both Exhibit B and C.
Okay, so overruled. You can ask about this.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, you said just now that you made that post to identify me without other people knowing who you were talking about. But you did. But before that post, didn't you post the post that you're currently looking at?
Yes.
Yes. And in that post, does it mention my initials?
Doesn't identify you.
Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry. My bad. Maybe I wasn't clear with my question. My question was actually, in that post, does it say my initials?
It says the initials of PM.
Yes. So, are my initials PM?
Yes.
Yes. And that's your boyfriend, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, doesn't it actually say at PM ... you mad bro?
It does say that.
Yeah. So clearly I was already identified even before the June 21st post, correct?
Between me and my boyfriend, we understood who it was for, but publicly, you were not identified.
So, do you think, Mr. Pamphilis, that people who see Dartmouth and see the initials PM, is there anyone else in Wyndham that could possibly refer to?
Well, the pictures weren't posted together, so people could not connect those.
Actually, Mr. Pamphilis, that picture you're holding right there was June 19th, and then the other one was immediately thereafter on June 21st, correct?
I don't remember.
Well, it's actually, if you don't remember, there's the timestamps on that. Actually, on that one, there's no timestamp, but in my exhibit, I note, I even note the time of the night, I think it was like 8 or something p.m. And then the June 21st one was like 9 or something p.m. But I have the dates there either way. First one was the 19th, and the second one was the 21st. Mr. Pamphlets, are you going to admit to that, or do we need to bring out like the digital backups of records?
Admit to what?
To the fact that that post preceded by a time no greater than 2 days the other post that we already talked about.
If you say that based on the time and date it preceded, then okay, but I don't recall when.
Yeah. So you clearly identified me, everyone in Wyndham knows I go to Dartmouth, right?
No, you're not
Okay.
that popular.
Oh, I'm not that popular.
You think you own the world, but not everyone's gonna know everything about you.
Seems like, Mr. Pamphlets, that you actually proved to the whole world that you're confident I'm actually a totally stable and nonviolent person by making these provocative posts against me. Is that correct?
What?
It seems like you proved to the world with these posts that you're actually fully confident that I'm a completely stable and nonviolent person, correct?
No.
Oh, okay. So you were afraid that I was going to violently attack you?
You could have, but I would have had the protection of the stalking order.
Oh, okay. So basically, if I came and violently attacked you...
Objection, she's trying to answer.
If you even came to my door before you even got in and were able to do that, I could have called the police on you, so.
Well, right, but you said that you were afraid about your personal safety from the stalking order, so which one is it?
I am both.
So you're both afraid and not afraid at the same time?
I never said I was not afraid.
Well, you just said that if I ever came to your house, you could just call the police and you have a security system.
I would still be fearful,
Okay, so then so then you do fear that I could violently attack you, correct?
of course.
Okay, so then you made those posts provoking me, clearly showing to the whole world that you were very confident that I'm not a violent person, even if so bullied and abused to the extent that I was, correct?
I have history of people telling me things that relate to you being a violent person.
Oh, it's sort of like when you said that there was a rumor of a knife incident in your stalking petition, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to pull that up.
This is the original petition?
This is the original stalking petition.
Right number?
This is not an exhibit yet. I don't know. So, Your Honor, I thought that not everything had to be an exhibit, that if we could just establish it with testimony, but if it's your preference, we can actually, for identification, enter it.
Well, again, it's for the purpose of preserving the record. So if you make a reference to a document or a photograph or some other potential exhibit, then it's appropriate to mark those so the record is clear what we're referring to.
Right.
So what is this?
This is a scan of the info sheet that the plaintiff attached to her stalking petition. So in the stalking petition, there's the petition part, and there's like an info sheet, what you know about the...
Who generates that?
The court generates it for the plaintiff to fill out. So this is her handwriting, this is what she wrote about me.
Can I see that, please? So the document is, okay. So it looks like a pre-printed form.
Yes, I'm sorry for the poor scanning quality of that particular document, but I've highlighted the relevant answers.
Can't read that.
The first one says something to the effect of rumors only of a knife incident.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
You can ask her did you write that in your original petition?
I believe so.
Okay, what was the basis of that?
I've heard that he has threatened people with a knife.
Okay.
Okay, was that in response to one of the questions on the form?
I'm sorry, I don't remember quite what.
Well, it says history of violence or violent tendencies.
I think that was in reference to what was on the form.
Mr. Pamphlets, please tell this court whence you heard this rumor that I have engaged in violence with a knife before.
I think it was a few years ago.
I asked from where, Mr. Pamphlets? From what source or place?
A friend.
Mr. Pamphlets, please name the individual that told you that I was involved in a knife incident once, which you put in your petition.
You would not name who wrote the letter specifically, so I'm going to keep this source in order to protect.
But Mr. Pantelis, if you want to play that game, you must also acknowledge that I didn't write the letter. Are you prepared to acknowledge that?
What letter are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about the March letter. I didn't write that letter. I aided it and I contributed to it. And they're saying, well, I did refuse to tell who wrote that letter because I want to, I understand that. But if she's going to do the same thing with me, then she needs to at least acknowledge that I never wrote that letter.
This is on the original petition, correct?
Yes.
You had the opportunity to flesh that out in the course of the trial.
Well, Your Honor, yes, but
But
now...
that wasn't the basis of the petition, was it? That was only in response to the pre-printed form so that the police in the court would know if there were so many potential weapons. Is that your understanding?
Well, no, Your Honor, it was attached to the original petition, and that's part of the record.
But there wasn't one of the,
No, Your Honor.
the complaints
No.
or the basis for the petition.
To my knowledge, that never came up during the hearings, and it was just her response to a question on the form. There was a rumor about a knife incident.
So how is that relevant to?
Well, because back in the original hearings, she hadn't engaged in such blatant and obvious acts which proved for the world that they never feared for their safety because of me. Now she has, so I'm bringing this up now.
Well, okay, I don't, now, was there a temporary order that was granted? I take it there was a temporary order. And that-
Yes,
Did
Your
that
Honor.
include removal of firearms,
Yeah,
weapons?
and that was why she lied there, to try to get that temporary order.
Objection to the characterization.
Well, I'll sustain the objection by counsel. I think the witnesses indicated that she did fill the form out, and it was in response to a question. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So, please continue.
Am I allowed to ask questions about the rumor of the knife?
She's already indicated that she's not going to reveal that information. She has a concern for the safety of that.
Oh, right.
Right.
Can I ask other questions about it?
About this?
Well, yeah, I have a more broad question I was trying to get to.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Pantelis, if you were so willing to note in that form that you heard this rumor about a knife incident, why didn't you bring it up in your petition?
Because I didn't want to have to speak about it in court and have to reveal her identity.
Okay. What if I've never once been involved in any knife incident whatsoever?
Well, someone came to me and told me that, so.
Okay. So, Mr. Pantelis, do you think it's fair for my rights to be injuncted against because of your hearsay about someone else's hearsay?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Mr. Pantelis, in that same form, did you indicate to the court that you knew that I was taking medications for diabetes?
I don't recall.
Well, you checked the box. It said diabetes.
Judge, relevance.
How's this relevant?
Because it shows, Your Honor, that she's just filling out that form. She doesn't pay attention to anything. She's just writing these slanderous, defamatory, it's just BS, but like the whole Stalking petition. I'm just trying to just show how careless and absurd this whole thing has been ab initio. But she thinks that I'm taking medications for diabetes.
Your Honor, again, we object to relevance. It's far afield and not even part of the court's order on the Stalking petition back in February of 2017.
I'll sustain the objection. Whether or not you're a diabetic, you're on medication, unless it affects your ability to think clearly, or somehow, let me ask you, if you filled that out, was that what was the purpose of?
I don't
Phil.
even recall
Okay.
that. If it was just to fill it out, if it was a question, like, to answer it properly. But I would not have known that if it was my parents who must have learned from his parents. That's the only way I would have checked it off, but I don't even recall writing anything about that.
Does that answer your question?
Well, for this court, I want this court to understand that she had no basis. My parents have never spoken that to anyone. I'm not diabetic whatsoever. I've never taken hardly any medications to begin with, just like Tylenol and caffeine. Caffeine's not really for men. That's the only drug I've ever done, unlike some other people. And so I just wanted to point out that this whole Stalking petition is punctuated with these ridiculous accusations that have
The
no
court,
basis in
the
reality.
court hadn't heard that until you mentioned it.
Well, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, but how's that?
I want to note it now to make sure that this, to document the original fraudulency. And also it goes along with that knife comment. You know, I'm just, she says she's afraid of me. It's just not consistent with her actions.
Okay. For that limited purpose, okay? And you made your point.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Pantelis, have you read the stalking order that you were able to get against me?
Yes,
Okay. You agree that, remember when I mentioned the age of consent to you?
yes,
Yeah, so I mentioned that to you, right?
I believe so.
Oh, you believe so? Well, I mean, like, you can agree, if you, since you've read that order, clearly that comment was part of the order.
Yes,
Yeah, actually, a couple more exhibits about that.
Show me that.
This is just a copy of the order.
What is this?
This is a scan of Robert S. Stevens' order, inculpating me of stalking that I never committed.
Judge Stephen?
Yes, Your Honor. This isn't an exhibit, I mean, it's
Not an exhibit?
it's the order, I mean, it's sort of.
Was that the order dated February 7th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the court has that. Go ahead.
Yes. So I would like to give this to the plaintiff so she can.
To read the court's order?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge what's there.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. Again, we are not here to relitigate the stalking order from a year ago. The court can take into consideration circumstances surrounding it, but we're not here to, again, relitigate what has already been determined by Judge Stephen. So I object to this line of questioning.
About, what's the purpose of using Judge Stevens' order?
The purpose is to understand whether or not the plaintiff understands the facts, the findings of fact, which caused the order, which goes into my next
So you
question.
disagree with the finding?
Oh, well, of course, Your Honor, there's proof that yeah.
So you can ask the witness the basis of that, or?
I want to have her on record saying, I understand that the order was issued because you mentioned, because of my accusation that you said age of consent. That's what I'm just trying to ask her if she sees it. It's sort of like when she pointed to me, like, of course she knows who I am, but it's just like for the record.
That calls for a legal conclusion. The order is what it is. We don't need the witness to be interpreting it and agreeing that's what the judge wrote.
Your Honor, for expediency, I can abbreviate this particular one if you want. I don't have to show her the, if,
Okay.
I object.
you object to me granting your objection?
I object to
I think he agreed.
questioning.
You're gonna show the witness the order?
Yeah, and then Simon Brown's objection was that, oh, we don't need to do that. And I said, fine, I'll just ask her then.
So this witness is gonna interpret the judge's order?
No, she's just going to acknowledge what it is.
Well, can't the court take judicial notice of the court's own order?
Well, yes,
February
Your Honor.
17th?
But I want to establish that she also knows and has intent, that she knows what was caused, what caused the order.
That's not relevant, Your Honor. We object. I think you can't take judicial notices.
The court will take judicial notice of the order of Judge Stephen, okay, February 7th of 2016.
So, Mr. Pantelis, you indicated to this court that the order mentioned my quote to you mentioning the age of consent, right? And the order also mentions when I said I'd be back when you're 18, correct?
correct.
Yeah. Actually, not only did you just acknowledge that the order acknowledges that, but earlier today you said that you reaffirmed that I said I will come back when you're 18, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Did I say I'll come back if you're interested in me later? I don't know, maybe it's when you're 18? Or did I say I am coming back when you're 18?
you mentioned coming back when I'm 18, but I don't know if it was as direct, but it was coming back when you're 18.
Okay. Well, the court's finding says that I mentioned I will wait until you are ready and be back when you are 18 years old. That is, we can at least agree that that's a different statement than saying, oh, hey, I totally respect your feelings. You know, maybe when you're a little bit older, say, I don't know, when you're 18, you know, you can have another shot at me. Those are two different statements, hypothetically, right?
Your Honor, objection. Again, he's asking her to
Sustain.
interpret the court's order.
The witness has testified a number of times on that.
Right.
Okay? And Judge Stevens' order speaks for itself too.
Sure.
Okay?
Yes, Your Honor. So, Mr. Pantelis, just to put to bed these questions about what I did and didn't say, again, do I have your permission to play my audio recording of that conversation for this court lawfully?
Objection, we've already dealt with this. She does not.
Is that true?
I do not consent, it's illegal.
Thank you.
Okay. But Mr. Pantelis, we did establish that with your consent, it's fully lawful, so with that in mind, do you...
Objection, she did not consent to that. She did not agree with that.
Your Honor, it's not a matter of opinion, I'm referencing the law. We established that lawfully, I'm making reference to RSA 57.
You've already indicated that, and the witness has already continues to assert. that she
Right,
does not
I
wish
understand.
an illegally taped
Right.
audio to be played.
Your Honor, does this
I
court...
take it, is that a continuing objection?
It
In
is.
case this comes up again?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does this court note in the record that the witness understands that such a disclosure would not be unlawful if she consented to it, but she still does not consent to it for reasons that have nothing to do with the legality or illegality of it?
Well, again, what motives that you're trying to attribute to the witness with regard to either not playing it, consenting or not consenting, the courts are not going to do that. The witnesses has their own reasons, and if whatever reasons they are, if in fact the recording was unlawful and was illegal, then the court is going to is not going to authorize her to play that, not require to play it, or even note that she could if she wishes to have it played. I understand, as a matter of law, maybe she could, but I'm trying to think, if you have an illegal recording, can you ever lawfully play that?
Well, yes, Your Honor, because the
I don't,
evidence...
well, I don't think you can. I'd like to see a memorandum on that fact. I don't believe you could ever lawfully use in any proceeding something that was obtained illegally. Counsel, do you have any information or case law on that, or?
I didn't research this issue before today, but I think that's correct. I mean, it's illegal, and I don't even know if anyone can consent to it once it's illegal. I think
I
I
have
agree with that.
researched it, Your Honor. The overriding principle in law at play is Article 15 of the New Hampshire Constitution, the rights of the accused, in which every subject shall have a right to produce all proofs that may be favorable to himself. Now, we also have RSA 570, which specifically states, by the way, it is illegal to reproduce and to make a divulgement, a sharing of that audio recording if it was taken in violation to the statute. Now, by the way, it wasn't in violation to the statute, but I don't think I can argue that because I didn't fight those charges. What is applicable right here is that since by the operation of RSA 173B, Part 8, which states for these proceedings, in any proceeding under this chapter, DV or stalking, the court shall not be bound by the technical rules of evidence and may admit evidence which it considers relevant and material. So the legal question at hand is not the original taking of the audio recording, legal or illegal. The only question is there another law which would make it illegal for me to play that above and beyond my guaranteed right in the 15th article of the New Hampshire Constitution? And the answer is there is a law, and it's RSA 570, I forget which parts, in A, and it says that it's predicated upon the consent of the so-called victim. So therefore, Your Honor, in this setting, if she consented to this audio recording, it would be fully admissible evidence. If she doesn't consent, I have no argument, I can't play
But
it.
you're asking her to retroactively consent.
No, Your Honor. If someone violates the statute, even if they violate it, and they consent afterwards, that's fully lawful to disseminate that audio recording.
I disagree. If this was such an important issue, he probably should have briefed it before the hearing, and so the court and opposing counsel would have a chance to respond.
Your Honor, I would petition this court to always put the truth in my constitutional rights above other questions. It is within this court's full power and discretion and jurisprudence in this case to understand that there was a record of what was actually said and not said, and there was a stalking order issued only, not on the basis of any act of violence, only on the basis of these little weird comments that I might or might not have made that I was unable to prove.
But you're relitigating that issue, and you have the opportunity to appeal to the Supreme Court if that was in fact an issue.
Well, but Your Honor, the Supreme Court is not a court of findings of fact. It's a court which only looks at legal with matters of law. This is the court which reviews
Right,
findings.
it's about, and you could have raised that issue at the original trial.
I did, Your Honor.
Okay.
So this court has carte
And
blanche.
you could have appealed the decision.
No, Your Honor, not based on the admission of that false statement, because if I said that this is what my lawyer told me, I never mentioned the age of consent or said I'm coming back when she's 18. That's a creepy, weird thing. I'm asking a girl out to dinner. She's like 5 years younger. I'm a very gentlemanly person.
We're not gonna relitigate.
All right.
We're not gonna relitigate that.
For the record, he made this argument before Judge Stephen, then he appealed to the Supreme Court, never raised the issue to the Supreme Court. And then the appeal was denied, and doesn't get to raise it again and reopen that issue.
Your Honor,
an extension here. That's our position.
That's implicitly false. The only reason that my appeal was, quote, denied was because I didn't preserve the issues in my appeal. So if I did indeed raise this issue to Judge Stephen, then that would have been admitted and heard by the court, by the Supreme Court. They heard nothing, because I didn't technically preserve my arguments.
But you had the opportunity to.
No, Your Honor, because the Supreme Court does not review the findings of fact. I don't have the rule for you. But
You had the opportunity to raise issues, that whether or not the court may have misapplied the law, misapplied the facts to the law. You had that opportunity. I'm gonna sustain the objection. Let's move on, okay?
So, Mr. Pantelis, it's true that you hired, you and your dad had Jerome make sure I never played that audio recording in court, correct?
We're past this issue.
Okay.
Okay?
So, Mr. Pantelis, isn't it true that you deleted your social media accounts right before the January 3rd hearing with your father?
If you're going to move on and try to say that I was getting rid of evidence, that's false because he already had screenshots. I was just sick of him trying to use my own posts against me. And so I decided that it would be best for me and to keep some of my privacy to just delete the accounts, even though I already knew he had taken screenshots because he had sent them to us and I knew he already had everything.
Are you referring to E?
Yes,
for
Your Honor.
identification?
That's
for the,
thank you, Attorney Brown. Yes.
Profile no
Exactly.
longer available with a
Yes.
sad face?
And Your Honor, unfortunately, there's no timestamp on that, but I would want the record to reflect that that particular page was deleted towards the end of 2017, maybe late December, right before that January 3rd, 2018 hearing on David DePamphilis' alleged stalking behaviors.
Well, you have evidence when it was deleted?
Just a screenshot, Your Honor.
Does it have a
It's-
date on
Well,
it?
it actually happens to. It actually says Vosco 2018 copyright at the bottom. Beyond that, that would just be
Where does it
right.
say that? I got my glasses on, I can't read that.
I'm just noticing right now, it says at the very bottom left, bottom right.
On the left or the right?
On the right. It's very small, but,
It looks like there's a trademark, it says something, is that?
yeah. It says
Wow.
copyright VSCO, Vosco or Visco, 2018, all rights reserved.
Okay, but that's not the date of the posting, is
No,
it?
Your Honor, but it's past January 1st. That's all I need to establish is that those original provocative incitation posts she made against me, that was in June of the prior year, about a half a year before. And she kept this account online all the way to 2018, and then days before, deleted it.
We can ask her about that,
Yeah.
when she deleted the account.
So, Mr. Pantelis, when did you delete your public, Christina M.A. Maria account?
I don't remember the exact date, but if you're saying if it was after January 1st, then it was.
Well, wasn't it either very late 2017 December or early January?
Objection, Your Honor. What's the relevance of what she did with her social media
Well,
account?
overruled.
You know what, Mr. Pantelis, I'm actually remembering your motion to extend this stalking order against me. Wasn't that filed on January 5th, 2018 of this year?
I think.
Yeah. It seems kind of coincidental that you deleted your social media accounts right before you made that motion, doesn't it?
I'm going to stand by what I said. I did not delete evidence. I know that's what he's going to try to make about it. He had the screenshots, he has all the dates, he's having everything that he's going to use. I decided that even though I knew he was looking at my social media, I don't want him following my life. You know, I just wanted to. I understood that he had anything that he decided to already screenshot, but I wanted to move past it and hopefully he wouldn't be following up on my privacy as much as considering I deleted accounts he had access to. And regarding my Finsta that was deleting, I believe that no one sent him screenshots because I had asked. I believe he'd hacked my account. So I don't think that anything revolving around that should be.
So, Mr. Pamphilus, if that's true, why did you wait 6 whole months after you first knew that I was, looking at my false accusers, public postings? Why did you wait that long to assert your own privacy, I suppose?
Because
Objection to the characterization.
Sustain as a, to rephrase.
So, Mr. Pamphilus, if what you just said was true, why did you wait so long, 6 months after when you first found out that I was documenting your online activity to delete?
Because I soon realized you were beginning to use every single thing I posted against me, even if there was nothing to even use at all.
Okay.
And so I knew you already were going to try to use these pictures, so it's not like I'm going to try to say that, like, and try to have you say that, oh, like, those aren't even existing, because, like, no, I know you have these pictures because you already sent them in a letter. I just did not want you continuing to see my things, and that was a decision I decided to make a few months ago.
Mr. Pamphilus, it's actually true to say, is it not, that you decided to delete the account because, yes, I had my screenshots, but now the link couldn't be verified anymore independently, correct?
I don't understand.
Like, for instance, once you deleted the account, now no longer can anyone access those times when you were bullying and provoking me on the internet. They became invisible. So that sort of deleted documentation of the proof of them actually being valid, correct?
Objection to the characterization.
Sustain. Rephrase.
Mr. Pamphilus, when you deleted those pictures, you deleted proof that I didn't have otherwise, correct?
I didn't delete proof. You took screenshots of what you felt that you could try to use against me.
Right, but me screenshotting you bullying and harassing me, that could sort of be faked, couldn't it?
Objection again to the characterization.
Sustain. Rephrase.
Mr. Pamphilus, clearly you've gone to great lengths to deceive this court.
Objection.
Sustain.
I want to make reference to a page in the transcripts again. This is page 27.
All right.
And
Is that marked?
it's not an exhibit now, it's just a transcript.
How many more of these do you have that are?
I have probably just 2 or 3 more transcript references.
Okay.
Well, how many more of these exhibits that are not, that you didn't previously mark?
Probably only like 4.
And you intend to use these in cross-examination?
So
So why do we mark them? We're now at P. Okay, so P, trying to remember the alphabet.
I can consolidate the transcripts into one.
It's all right. Why don't you, if you can ask individual questions on these, then I'd prefer if you mark them individually to preserve the record, okay? So let's take a brief recess. We're probably going to stop at about 10 minutes of 4, okay? We do have all morning tomorrow morning, if you wish to continue the hearing, okay? If the parties are available, what I would recommend is we start promptly at 8:30. Is that good for?
We'll have to stop for the videos at 9.
Okay, we do have videos for arraignments, criminal cases, but we'll stop at that point, do the videos, and then resume, okay? So that would give us the entire morning, minus the videos. Okay, so let's take a brief recess.
All right.
Just remind the witness, you're still on the road.
Mr. Pamphilus, to what extent does my being a little bit older than you contribute to your fear of me?
Based on when his romantic feelings toward me started, when I was 11, that's where the fear kicked in, because he was, that was like me, I think, it was like a 16-year-old having a crush on an 11-year-old, and me, when I would think back as it, I just couldn't even think about that. Like, that's just...
Mr. Pamphilus, I've never expressed a romantic interest in you ever before December 12, 2016.
I feel
Is that a
as if
question?
you did.
It's a statement, and I'm letting
No,
her.
well,
Oh,
you may have to ask a question, sir. You can
well,
make it-
yeah, Your Honor,
You
I'm
lay a
very sorry.
foundation, but then ask. ask a question.
I'm remembering from February, Simon Brown said, David DePamphilis has never threatened you with a weapon in any way. Is that like acceptable for a cross-examination or not?
Well, you could lay a foundation, but then ask a question on that. You can't
Okay.
you just can't make a statement.
Right.
You can make a statement, but the court doesn't consider that evidence. The only evidence the court considers is the sworn testimony of the witness.
Understood, thank you.
Okay?
So, why did you ever have the perception, Mr. Pamphilus, that I had a romantic interest in you when you were, quote, 11 years old?
Well, you said that you've loved me since I was 11, so that's where I knew. But then I knew that the prom thing he referred to me, you don't have to say you love someone or that you really like someone or you're obsessed with someone to get that feeling from someone.
Okay.
And so he may have not said those exact words before my 16th birthday, but I knew based on other things, I knew that he had felt love.
So I'll ask you a question, Mr. Pamphilus, that I asked your father. From what age has your father loved you?
Objection.
Sustain.
Mr. Pamphilus, is it fair if someone were to call your father a pedophile for when you were 2 years old, he would have said that he loved you?
Objection.
Sustain.
Mr. Pamphilus, is it fair for you to make equivocations between two things which are completely different?
Objection.
Well, if you could, I'll sustain the form of the question, but if you're saying for example, there's different types of loves, there's romantic love, there's fraternal love, there's brotherly love. If that's where you're going on this, get to it, okay?
Right.
That's an appropriate question.
So, Mr. Pamphilus, why is it that when I said, I thought you're cute from 2011 or something like that, when I was asking you out, why do you conclude from that I've had a, quote, sexual obsession with you, which was said prior hearing?
Because your love would not be the same as a fatherly love, which you're trying to relate the two or something, but a fatherly love is much different from anything, and he's loved me before I was even born, but when you're saying that you've loved me since 11, that's just like, obviously not a fatherly love, it's like very creepy because I never was friends with you, never had any sort of relationship with you, so when you're saying you've loved me since 11, and we've never even had an in-depth conversation, that's when it's like, what kind of love is this?
So, Mr. Pamphilus, you also mentioned that I made some comment to you saying that you were pretty once in 2013, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Your Honor, I'd like to enter this exhibit. This is going to be T, actually.
Okay? Again, these are all for identification at
Yes.
this point.
I have not seen this.
And that is just pages 6, 7, and 8 in the transcript.
Again, this is from the trial.
From the trial, January 5th, 2017.
Okay, and you highlighted certain portions?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you wish to have the witness review this transcript? And then ask-
Perhaps you can have it there for her reference when I ask her.
Okay, please go. Ma'am, take a look at that, okay, and especially the highlighted portions?
Yes.
Okay. And let the court know when you're ready to proceed. Okay, you may ask your question.
So, Mr. Pamphilus, going back to this topic of how you think that my comment, some casual compliment saying you look nice at some party made you feel like I had a sexual obsession with you since you were 11 years old, which is very inappropriate and strange. You said that you had that sensation back in 2013. You did say that you were really nervous and uncomfortable because I was much older than you, page 7, on June 29, 2013, when, again, you came to my house, correct?
I forget what it was for, but I didn't come to your house to be with you. I came to your house for your sister.
Okay. Wasn't it actually my graduation party?
Yeah, but your sister.
Yeah.
If I wasn't friends with your sister, I wouldn't be there.
But you said that I made this comment to you that you looked pretty or something on that day, and that's part of your conclusion that I've had a sexual compulsion with you since you were 11, correct?
You wouldn't tell someone when I'm in middle school and you're graduating high school that you felt I could have been your prom date and I was as beautiful. That's just messed up in my opinion.
Did I ever actually say that though, Mr. Pamphlets, or are you contorting some casual comment that I don't even remember?
You 100%. I don't know your words word for word, but you related me, your prom date, me looking beautiful, and me could have been your prom date.
Your Honor, I'd like to make reference to exhibit, I think it's exhibit G. Yes. This is actually, coincidentally, this is a photograph that I happened to take at that party. You just snapping some pictures the whole day, and it actually shows the actual social dynamic
Your
between me
Honor,
and the plaintiff.
I'd like to object to this objection and the continued path down this line of questioning. We're talking about events many years ago, not even close in time to when this stalking order was issued.
Your Honor,
And, you know, we're here to talk about an extension, not
the
things
stalking,
that happened five years ago.
the stalking order was issued because 90% of this young woman's petition against me was this regurgitated drivel from 2013 and earlier. Only about 10% of that stalking petition was about when I asked her out to dinner.
Well, you can ask the witness to lay a foundation with regard to when this photograph was taken, where it was taken.
Well, yes, Your Honor, I don't need to lay that foundation though. I have the metadata on the right. It shows it's my house.
Well, take a look, did you see this photograph?
No.
Okay, do you know when that was taken?
I don't even know what the photograph is.
Your Honor, it's not something she would know about.
She wouldn't know about the photograph?
No, this is years
Well,
ago.
Okay. You need to lay a foundation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, to show whether or not this accurately depicts
Right.
date, time, and place. So if this witness doesn't recall when the photograph was taken, and how could she testify? as to
Because
when
she
it was
remembers,
taken?
because she just testified that she was uncomfortable because she was around me at this event. And I have proof.
We haven't shown that this is the event.
Right.
You're gonna connect the dots.
So to that point, Your Honor, my foundation is, on the left I have the actual image, and on the right I have a screenshot of the metadata from that image. So like when you take a picture on your cell phone, it stores the GPS location, the
Well, are
time.
you laying the foundation, or is she laying the foundation?
Well, I just have this exhibit. I mean, I wanted to ask her what she's looking at.
Do you know what this represents?
A photo that he secretly took of me, that's what I know. That's
Do you know when it was taken?
No.
Do you know where it was taken?
No. Oh, yeah, that's his, that's his younger brother's bedroom. It was like down in the basement and there was like a door to the outside.
Okay. And whose feet are those?
Those are my feet, Your Honor. I was just.
No,
Oh,
no.
sorry.
Whose feet are those? Do you know who that is?
I'm guessing they're his because
Well,
he's in.
I don't want you to guess.
I don't know.
Okay.
Your Honor, this exhibit is from my cell phone. I take pictures all the time as a party.
But you understand now, you're laying the foundation. That's not proper.
Okay.
You're asking this witness to identify the photograph,
Right.
okay?
Right.
And you're attempting to lay the foundation this witness. If you wish to testify to the photograph, you may do that and lay the foundation.
Right.
But you're asking this witness to lay a foundation. She says it appears to be downstairs in the basement. Not sure if those are your feet or not, and not really sure when this photograph was taken. Is that accurate?
Yes.
But Your Honor, once she has an opportunity to look at the metadata on the right hand, she'll be able to tell back to me, oh yes, I see that the metadata says this was taken on June 29, 2013. It was the same event that I said I felt.
Whose metadata is it?
That's mine. That's from the same
So
picture.
do you know anything about his metadata?
No.
Or what that means?
No.
Okay.
It's just like a term, Your Honor, for like the date and the timestamp and the location. It's supplementary information beyond the photo that shows when it was taken.
It may be a proper foundation for you to testify, but this witness is not able to identify this with regard to specific date.
Right.
Okay, place, yes, not time frame. Okay?
Okay.
Place, yes.
So, Mr. Pantelis, at some point when you were at my house, and clearly this is my cell phone, you were pictured conversing with me downstairs in a very, very, I don't know, I want to say even flirtatious pose, correct?
I believe, I would never go into a room with you alone, and I believe
No.
that by what I can see, I'm not even looking at
Well,
him.
you haven't looked at it?
No.
I'm sorry. I thought you had it in front
I
of you.
don't think I.
Well, just for the future, make sure that we're referring to these exhibits that the witness, and I'm asking questions, I'm assuming the witness has that in front of her. And I apologize for that. You should have had that in front of you.
Okay, so that was definitely not flirtatious because I've never had an interest in him. There was definitely other people there because I would never put myself in a room alone with him. And it was definitely his sister that was there because I would only spend time with him there because he also hasn't mentioned that from the last trial, he tried to drop his sister off first and then bring me home afterwards and then return to the same home he lived with his sister. And that was the only time his sister has stood up for me in this situation where she knew that his interactions with me had been bothering me, and I was like, no, like, take me home first. I did not want to be alone with him. And so this, at 2013, I had always had, you know, like a sense that he had this weird thing with me, and I was always a little bit uncomfortable by it. And this is one of the early events. It had built up, like multiple events. Like this didn't just happen. I was like, I'm getting a stalking order against you. Like multiple things had happened over the course of the years, and our parents had conversations telling him to not like do things or, you know, not put himself on to me in certain ways. And so these things had built up, but this I believe is a time where this was earlier, and I hadn't really connected the dots to like his feeling towards me and everything that was going on until probably around my 8th grade graduation, where he wouldn't stop asking me for a picture, and he can.
How old are you in this picture? Do you
I
have
am.
an estimate?
2013. My birthday's in December, so I was 12. Yes, and I don't know if this is a graduation. I don't know. Is this graduation? What is
Well, no,
this?
you don't get to ask questions.
I don't know.
So you still don't know?
I don't know when this was, no.
But in 2013, and that you would have been 12.
Yes,
And you do recall attending a graduation party at his house?
yes,
And you were invited by whom?
his family, because our families were close at the time.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, Mr. Pantelis, what if my sister is actually outraged at this ridiculous idea that I was somehow weird, that I was trying to drop both you and my sister off by your father's own request, and at no time did she perceive that you were uncomfortable to be with me?
Objection is
Sustained.
Okay. So, Mr. Pantelis, you just told this court that was 2013, so then on page 8, why did you lie and try to make yourself seem younger than you actually were by saying it was in 2011 that this graduation party happened? Page 8. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm making reference to page 8. So I'm not sure if you have
Objection to the following question.
Sustained is the form of the question. Please rephrase your
Sure.
question.
Does the plaintiff actually have the exhibit?
I have it.
Yeah, making reference to page 8
Page 8 of what?
of the transcripts, I'm sorry.
I don't
The
have a
transcript
copy.
that the court doesn't have?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe it's over. No, I thought
Okay, let's,
I did give it to someone.
let me see if I can find it here. Okay. What's it marked as?
It is probably marked as, let's see.
It's T.
T.
Okay.
And I can't prepare
I
a
think
second
I
copy.
provided you my copy,
I
right?
have.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think I
Right.
provided the witness, so you have it, go.
Yes.
I have a separate copy. So that was marked as T, Your Honor?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but the witness has it. It's T for identification?
You get another copy there?
Yes, sir. I have this right here for you.
Okay,
So that would be
thank
T,
you.
Pages 6 through 8.
So it's a 3-page document.
Yes, Your Honor, it's a consolidation of
What
6.
page are you referring to?
I'm referring to page 8 right now.
Okay. Where you've highlighted?
Yes, Your Honor. So, Mr. Pantelis, we can agree that you said to this court before that when you came to my graduation party, it was 2011.
I am very bad with dates because but my previous attorney said, does 2011 sound right to you? And I said, yes, I think so, because I'm really bad with dates and I just didn't really remember the time. But So I guess I said it was 2011, but his actual graduation was 2013, but that was just my memory. I'm not good with dates, so.
So, Mr. Pantelis, you just told this court that part of the reason you were pictured socializing with me very friendly, if not flirtatiously, was because you hadn't.
Objection sustained.
The reason
Facts
you
are
were
in evidence.
Okay. So, Mr. Pantelis, you just told this court that the reason you were pictured hanging out with me in such a fashion was because you hadn't fully connected the dots and you didn't have enough of my hostile, stalking, and on one occasion, violent, where you claimed that I grabbed your arm once, conduct to be afraid of you. But didn't you actually say on page 7 of those transcripts about that same incident, that during that day, because of my comment, you said that you were really nervous and uncomfortable because I was much older than you, page 7?
Yes, I said you were uncomfortable, and at that time I was really young, so the age difference was really uncomfortable for me, and made me really nervous that someone would make those comments towards me at that age. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's more understood that as you grow up, age differences aren't as weird or whatever. Because there's 30-year-olds who are dating 35 or 60-year-olds dating 65. But when I'm 12 and he's 18 or however old or 7, I don't know. That just is not.
But,
okay.
Mr. Pantelis, didn't you just make a mendacious claim that I attempted to date you when you were 12 and I was 17? Actually, you came to my party and I said something on the lines of, hey, you look good today.
I did not say that. I just wasn't recognizing how relationship and ages, as time goes on and the ages get older, I think it's more accepted, the age differences. I'm just saying, I am validating that my fear and uncomfortableness with you making those my fear after all the events, and my uncomfortableness when I'm young and you're graduating high school and you're making those comments towards me, those can be validated.
So, Mr. Pantelis, you just said two contrary things. You said that you were nervous during that occasion.
Sustained.
Mr. Pantelis, how come you just said that you hadn't connected the dots because you were pictured hanging out with me in a completely comfortable fashion, but then you said years later that in the same time you were really nervous and uncomfortable?
I have always been nervous around you, but I believe, I don't know actually, but I don't know if he had made those comments about the prom date before or after this picture was taken. And as he would say things or do things, like my nervousness and uncomfortableness and then soon fear, it grew,
So, Mr. Pantelis, let's say in your favor, let's assume that whatever mindless compliment I might have made to you was after that picture. Do you think that it is socially inappropriate, let alone stalking, for someone you've grown up with to say, hey, you look great today, something like that, to be made with someone who is so befriended with and comfortable around him that she's putting her own scantily clad leg up on the bed that he's sitting on?
Objection, and I object again to this line of questioning. It being
Sustained.
so remote.
This witness has not identified those feet as your feet,
I was referencing her feet, Your Honor.
or your feet.
Well, yes, Your Honor, but I was
Okay,
referencing her
so
feet.
whether or not you were even there.
Okay.
I know the witness indicated that if you were there, it would have been with your sister. At least that's my understanding.
yes.
Is my sister pictured in that image, Mr. Pantelis?
I would never put myself in a bedroom alone with you, that's all I know.
You were actually alone with me on multiple social occasions way before even that, correct?
I do not recall.
Oh, okay. You didn't hang out with me at my high school once in April 2013?
The what?
At my high school?
No.
Oh, okay.
At your graduation?
No, didn't one time you hang out with individually me, not my sister, at my high school during some event that my sister was a part of, and therefore not present with me, one time in April 2013, 2 months before that picture was taken?
I do not recall.
Oh, right, that's kind of convenient, I don't recall.
Objection, sustained. I mean, if there was an event, maybe, what was the event? Was it a social event? Was it an academic event? Maybe you can refresh the memory.
Well,
But you just
yeah.
pick an event 5 years ago,
Right.
okay?
So, Mr. Pantelis, when you claim to this court to try to get the stalking order against me that you were uncomfortable when I tried to drop you off at your house, which your father asked me to do, Had you ever been alone with me before?
Objection to order the question.
Sustain. Rephrase, please.
Mr. Pantelis, had I ever been alone with you before that time when I was dropping you off at your house when your father asked me to?
I was still with your sister because I made your sister sit in the car with me, but other than us, like me and your sister and you, I don't recall me and you just being alone, no.
Okay. So what if it were true that we actually had a totally normal, friendly relationship and we were alone multiple times? That would sort of defeat your claim that it was this scary stalking thing when I was dropping you off, obeying your own father's orders, right?
Objection. Again, I object to the
Sustained.
the time period here is too remote.
Your Honor, I acknowledge the sustained objection. However, Attorney Brown keeps objecting that the time period makes it invalid. And I have my biggest thing so far.
It's invalid, but it's also you're assuming things that are not in evidence, facts that are not in evidence. That the witness has indicated very clearly.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pantelis, did you actually, in the court hearing on January 5th, 2017, referring to when I asked you out when I was 21 years old and you were 16, did you refer to that as, by saying, quote, age gap was ridiculous?
Where?
That's on page 27. It's actually going to be Exhibit P.
Which one?
Not sure if I found it, Your Honor. That's Exhibit P.
Okay. Okay, so we've gone from O to T, now we're at P. Okay. Thanks. Okay, we got about 10, it's almost 3:50. So we're gonna wrap it up for today. And then we'll resume tomorrow at 8:30. The parties are available, correct? Okay, so will we break? I want you to listen to the instructions of the CSO because there's a pending stalking order, okay? So one party will leave and then the other party will leave. So please listen to the instructions of our security officer, okay? Okay, that'll conclude the hearing for today. I'm gonna leave my documents here. If you wanna leave, is it okay if you left there because until tomorrow morning? Or should they pick up? If you want to leave your document, the door will be closed, okay? Nobody will have access to here.
Okay, I'll probably just take my things.
Okay.
Quick clarification, so we have time up until noon and that's
Yes.
it tomorrow? Thank you.
Yes.
8:30 to 12 tomorrow, Your Honor.
Yes, well, we also have those arraignments, the criminal cases. They're gonna take priority, we're arraigning, so, and that's gonna be a rule. Can I take it?
As of right now, Judge, we have one video at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
All rise.
Thank you.
So we're still scheduled for 9?
Correct, Judge.
We have some munchies downstairs, so.
And I also, just so you know, pulled a bunch of.
This is docket number 16 CV 124. Parties identify themselves for the record.
I'll mark it.
Thank you.
Simon Brown representing Christina DePamphilis.
Okay, and just remind you, you're still under oath, okay, from yesterday. We're going to continue cross-examination by the petitioning. Okay? Please go ahead, sir. It's just a housekeeping matter. We do have apparently some sort of arraignment regarding to a warrant that was issued. And that's going to be scheduled for about 9 o'clock, so we'll take a break at the appropriate time, okay? Because we only have a window of opportunity from the House of Corrections. They're only available certain times of the day for different courts. Okay, so please continue.
So, Mr. Pantelis, please tell this court how old you were in November 2017.
16.
Okay. And how old was your boyfriend at that time?
Objection.
How is this relevant?
It's relevant because I'm going to make reference to Exhibit P, which is page 27 in the transcripts from the original hearing.
Do you have P there? You have some of the exhibits.
Yes.
Okay. What is, I don't have that, but you have the board's copy, so what is that?
Transcripts.
Can I see that? Thank you. I'll sustain the objection.
Mr. Pamphilus, I'm looking at page 27 of those transcripts. It's true that you said that the age gap was ridiculous, correct?
Correct.
And you were referring to when I asked you out at the age of 21 and you were 16, correct?
I was also referring to the time of when you said you started loving me, which was 11 years old.
Actually, Mr. Pamphilus, didn't we corroborate yesterday that that was absurd to say that that same type of romantic, attraction existed years prior than it ever did?
Absolutely not, because the picture he used of my life when I was 12, I think it was, he was referring to it as like flirtatious body language. So if that was his mindset when he took that picture, then you can like gather that his love for me was also like sexually focused.
So Mr. Pamphilus, you're insinuating that I am responsible for the positioning and clothing of your leg, is that correct?
Absolutely not, but that was your mindset and how you thought
Really?
about me. Yes.
So it's my mindset that I'm picturing you quasi-flirting with me when you declared that you were actually uncomfortable with me?
Objection. Stating facts, not evidence. Asserting she
Well,
was flirting with
what he may have thought.
Your Honor, she's trying to evade the fact that when she said the age gap was ridiculous between 16 and 21, she went off and got a 21-year-old boyfriend.
Objection, Your Honor. This guy has a stalking order against him. He wants to pry into this victim's personal life, ask about who she's dating and all this stuff. It's totally irrelevant.
Your Honor, Simon Brown's agenda of hostile obscurantism has simply gone too far.
Hostile what?
Obscurantism, sir. It is a term which refers to the willful concealment of truth, and it's something that has existed for a long time. It's something that propagandist tyrannical governments impose, various philosophies. The term is obscurantism, and that has been a hallmark of David DePamphilis' abuse of me. It was a very large and relevant feature of this whole matter that apparently the fact that I was a little bit older than her was a contributing factor to her reasonable fear. So when she goes off and just days after she comes to court originally last year, gets a stalking order against me and says, quote, the age gap is ridiculous. And I come to know that she has a boyfriend, and it's a public thing. That's not a secret. She publicly pictures him. Everyone knows he's 21. It's a public fact. And I'm just trying to, there's no reason that that should be considered irrelevant. When she said age gap was ridiculous, and I'm asking her about her own behaviors and preferences, which demonstrate that is not how she felt. And I knew that. I wouldn't have asked out a 16-year-old girl if she were like a younger and like more sensitive or like that girl.
Your Honor, the transcript states that she told him the age gap was ridiculous. Okay, let's not, let's make the record accurate. But my position, my objection is based on the fact that he should not be allowed to get into this victim's personal life, her dating after the stalking order was issued. It's just not relevant to the issue today, which is whether that stalking order should be extended for good cause.
Your Honor, I object first of all to the characterization of the victim. There's one victim in this room, and I'm standing. Second of all, I would say that it's also relevant to the extension matter because I'm also going to show that one of the elements of the reasons for which this stalking order was issued, Judge Stevens cited the lie that I mentioned that it was her age of consent when she turned 16. So that incorporates also the aspect of my majority comparatively as an aspect for why the order was issued. And I'm here to demonstrate that the circumstances of the stalking order don't exist anymore.
But it's my understanding that was one factor.
Well, yes, Your Honor.
One factor of the petitioner's concern, if you will, was the difference of age.
Yes, and there's evidence that I'm expositing which indicates that she never genuinely felt that way. She hangs out with older guys all the time.
Objection.
Okay, isn't that subjective, though? With
I have
regard
proof
to
of it.
what the petitioner believed or felt or perceived?
Well, that's what I'm trying to ask her, yeah.
Well, I think she's already answered that with regard to her relationship or purported relationship with you. So I'll sustain the objection.
But Your Honor, what would be my course for asking about the same exact circumstance with age with another person?
Well, we have photographs of a apparently a young man that purports to be her boyfriend, and that it appears that it's my understanding that he is about 21. I think you've established that.
Oh, okay.
Either in this case or in the prior case.
Well, sorry, it was a new occurrence that happened days after, it was in late February when it first happened. But it wasn't from the prior case, sir, no.
Well, I thought that information came into evidence when we had the hearing before on your case.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I don't know whether
I believe it did, Your Honor.
Pardon?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that same exhibit was entered that.
Your Honor, did the record reflect the numerical age of the man, Mr. Reyes?
Well, I think we could agree on that. From
Okay.
the last case, that at least before me, is that there was some evidence that she had a boyfriend depicted in the picture and that he was about 21 years of age at the time the photograph was taken.
Right. So, Mr. Pamphlets, we can agree that the difference in age between you and me is of no import ongoing nowadays in 2018, the middle of 2018, to your stalking petition, correct?
That is actually hilarious because you're talking about we have an entire different history based on me meeting a new person. He's trying to compare that. That's actually like, the age gap is going to reflect how he loved me when I was 11. That's the major point, and that I'm never gonna get over that. You know, that's part of what he told me. He confessed his love to me. He's loved me since I was 11. He told me that. That's the truth, and that's not just gonna go away. Like the fact that a 16-year-old can love an 11-year-old, I don't even understand that. So that's going to continue. Like no matter if I'm 40 and he's 45, it doesn't matter. If that's going to continue, that age gap is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
It's non-responsive testimony, Your Honor. She's first of all assuming facts which aren't in evidence. She is trying to covertly assert that there was some sort of inappropriate compulsion a long time before I asked her out. When that's
She responded to the question.
Well, I think that is a response to the question, at least the inquiry. So that's considered as evidence.
So, Mr. Pamphlets, if you can't even be honest to your own parents in matters which are relevant to legal proceedings involving them, how can you be trusted to not keep twisting the truth in this court?
Objection,
Sustain
argument.
us to the form of the question.
So, Mr. Pamphlets, if your precious stalking order was really not about bullying me, and it was really just about your safety, why did your mom call the police and try to get me arrested on September 5th when she happened to catch sight of me at Shaw's while I was shopping? And you weren't there.
Objection to the form of the question.
Sustained. Rephrase, please.
Mr. Pamphlets, are you aware that your mother on September 5th, 2017, complained that I had violated the restraining order and tried to get me arrested, arrested for that, correct?
Complain to whom?
To the Wyndham Police Department.
Okay.
She wanted to aware the police department, from what I know, that you did that, but then she found out that you had already sent in the video, to my belief. That's what happened, to show he walked into Shaw's and didn't do anything. So, but in reality, she would not have called if she wasn't being videotaped. Like it was almost like he went in there to try to test her, but have it on video and see what she'd do. So that's what my belief. I was not there.
Are you denying the fact that your mother complained that I had violated the stalking order and tried to get me arrested for me seeing her at Shaw's and not leaving because I saw her alone?
No, I'm not denying that.
Okay.
The point as what I'm saying is you didn't just walk into Shaw's and she saw you. That's not what happened. You took a video of her, and in the video, to my belief, the police had said you were kind of muttering under your breath some not so nice words about my mother, is to what I remember them.
Oh, I was,
saying from it.
yeah. Actually, when I was talking to myself, your mother wasn't present. Did you know that?
It doesn't matter. You said it in the video and you sent it to the police. So it
Oh.
doesn't make any sense.
So I don't have a right to speak to myself in a video, is what you're saying, in the parking lot?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's what you were doing, and you randomly sent a video, and my mom was doing nothing. There was no point of you being there, and it was
There was no point in me being there.
There was no point in you videotaping her walking into her store when she
So
was there.
defending myself against false accusations of stalking and anticipating correctly a false police report is not a valid purpose?
You walked in.
Objection, asking for a legal opinion.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, you just told this court, you admitted that your mother tried to get me arrested for violating a stalking order that had nothing to do with her. So clearly, the stalking order is much more about just protecting you, correct?
This-
Objection.
Sustained.
Mr. Pamphilis, you even tried to add the circumstantial sort of twisting of fact the other day that I was further stalking because I once creeped on your mother at Shaw's and videotaped her.
Objection. One more question?
Well, first reminder,
Rephrase, how would, you can ask if perhaps they had a discussion between mother and daughter and what effect that had on the mother when that encounter occurred at Shaw's. I
Right.
think that's what you're trying to ask, but
So,
you
Mr.
have to-
Pamphilis,
you have to lay a foundation as to how she would know.
right. So, Mr. Pamphilis, it's true that the other day, yesterday, that you said that part of my new stalking was videotaping your mother at Shaw's, correct?
The stalking order states that you should refrain.
Please answer my question.
She is answering the
I am
question.
going to.
Please allow the witness to answer, okay?
He's right.
Thank you.
The stalking order states that you should refrain, to my belief, that you should refrain from abusing and harassing the victim and his or her family. That is what the order is, to my belief. And my mom felt that when she was at Shaw's and you walked in videotaping her without her even doing anything, that she was harassed by you. And I don't care what the video is, I don't care what it is. She felt that she's going to just alert the police about it, and that's all I know.
How do you know that? Is that
My
something your mother
mom,
related
yes,
to you?
yes.
And when did she do that?
Like the day it happened.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I, in 1 second, may I deliver my cell phone to the witness?
Say again?
May I deliver my cell phone to the witness in just 1 second?
I'm not sure. Deliver yourself. What do you mean?
I have the actual video that she's claiming that I was stalking and creeping her mother at Shaw's.
Well, she's not claiming that. She's claiming that's what her mother told her,
Right.
okay? So, have you seen this video?
No.
Okay.
I checked on relevance grounds, she's.
Well,
was not a
I think
party to it.
we're in the discussion of this, but this witness doesn't, is not a proper foundation because she wasn't there, she hasn't reviewed this. Her testimony is based upon what her mother told her.
Yes, Your Honor. So that's a part of my testimony. What I think.
Well, I don't know what that will be, but if you wish to raise that, that may or not be relevant, but we'll deal with it at the time. But I don't think this witness can identify a video that she wasn't present. Her mother may have told her about it, but you have not had the opportunity, she's not had the opportunity to review that and wasn't there. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor. So, Mr. Pamphilis, I'm actually looking at a page from your objection to my Supreme Court appeal from last year. I'd like to hand this document to the court.
Is this
going to
marked?
be- It's marked as Exhibit R. And I have a copy.
Can I see that first? Well, after counsel sees it.
I have a copy for Attorney Brown.
Thank you.
It's just a page of the transcript, and it's actually just one page of that reply brief.
So this is a two-page document, looks like page 25,
Correct, Your Honor.
but then 8.
Yeah, they're from two different documents that I sort of collated together into one exhibit.
So one is the transcript, the other looks to be a pleading.
Yes, sir, that pleading would be the Supreme Court appeal, their reply brief to my appeal.
Okay.
Your Honor, object to, again, we touched on this yesterday, the issue, he's trying to re-litigate the initial stalking order. And I think this is just another step on his part to try to do that. I think the court can consider the circumstances surrounding the issuance of that order, but to get back into it and to, and to relitigate it is not the appropriate.
Well, I'm going to allow the petition an opportunity, because it is, the court will consider the existing stalking petition. So if there's something that the petitioner wishes to bring to the court's attention regarding that, I think, at least generally speaking, it's appropriate. But it may not be based upon subsequent questions, it may not be relevant, but I'm gonna at least, I think generally speaking, I think the witness, this petition, he can ask questions about the prior stalking. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm, Mr. Pamphilis, I'm just looking at page 25 there. I think you have it right there. And it says,
27.
Okay, I have 25, so we're not on, literally on the,
I did-
figuratively on the same
Yeah.
page.
She doesn't have a copy.
I'm sorry, I only brought 2 copies.
So let's make sure you, okay. So just take a look at that, man. Take whatever time you need, let the court know when you're ready, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on page 25 there, you're describing the December 12th, 2016 interaction. When I came to the door and I had flowers for your mommy, remember? And you said that, you gave me a hug and you said that I could come back in 15 minutes, page 25, right?
Well, I'm going to make a correction because you asked for me for a hug and I did give you one, because obviously I would not reach out myself and give you a hug. So that is a correction on my part, or a clarification. And I told you to come back in 15 minutes because I did not want you to be at my house while no one else was there, but my mom was in the shower. So I wanted you to come back because you had something for me. And obviously you weren't gonna not come back or not give it to me, so.
Right, I might have come and beat you up, right?
No.
Objection.
Sustained.
So, so Mr. Pamphilis, you gave me a hug, as you correctly noted there, but then in your Supreme Court appeal, you sort of changed the story a little bit, didn't you? Didn't you say that then I gave you a hug a couple months later when we're looking at the Supreme Court appeal? Different story, right?
It's the same thing, are you kidding me?
So-
He hugged her, I gave him a hug, we hugged. You asked me for one, we hugged. You hugged me, I hugged you. I
Yeah.
didn't want to hug you, but I did.
Mr. Pamphilis, I actually didn't notice this one. It was Richard who noticed this one. Richard correctly noted to me that this directionality of the hug thing, who generated it, that was one ridiculous thing that was mentioned, not by my side of this case, by yours. So how come when we're talking about it, when you initiated the hug, it becomes, a moot point, but when you allege that I initiated the hug, it's relevant?
Objection, call the question.
Sustained.
She didn't write the reply brief.
I would note for this court that, it is her reply brief. I mean, am I opposed to Simon Brown here, or is it David's daughter? It was in the name of the case that is the instant case.
Well, I think the witness explained,
Right.
clarified her answers, both
Right.
with regard to the original transcript and then regarding the
Yeah.
appeal.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, how did it come about that there was such a blatant discrepancy between your testimony and your Supreme Court appeal?
Objection,
Sustained as to the former question. You're assuming that it's a blatant,
Sure.
but it's for the court to decide whether or not that, if that is an inconsistency, and what degree of inconsistency, and whether or not it affects the credibility. Okay, so that's for the court to decide.
Mr. Pamphilis, why is there a palpable reversal in the directionality of the hug between those two documents?
Objection.
Sustained, again, you're assuming, Pat. You're
Well,
using descriptive words to indicate, again, it's up to the court to make a distinction whether or not the witness is credible. You
Okay.
raised that issue that it appears to be some sort of inconsistent statement, and the court will consider that, but the court will also consider what the witness's response was and what the witness responded in terms of a clarification. We've already made that point, okay? There appears to be a somewhat of an inconsistency that's been explained by the witness, and the court will consider that. Again, it's the amount of weight the court will consider, okay? But when you start to say with adjectives, and you're assuming things that the court will infer, it's up to the court to infer that, okay?
Thank you for clarifying, right. So, Mr. Pamphilis, I have another just quick look at some quick little documents here. This is going to be Exhibit S. And it's actually just, another little quick bullet from that
Wait,
testimony.
we have the same issue. I gotta look at it, then the witness will look at it, okay? So this appears to be transcript 209, page 209.
That is correct, Your
And
Honor.
then it looks like a snapshot of something, text, and then a photo and some other text. Just give me a minute, please. Please, again, the witness, just take your time, take a look at that, and then let the court know when you're ready.
Your Honor, I don't know where he's going with this, but I can tell from the transcript, this is not the testimony of the witness. This is an interchange between Judge
Mr.
Stephen
Blanchard and the court.
Right, about,
Okay.
I think, the Tendencies issue. I don't see the relevance.
Okay. Okay, ready to go forward?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Pamphlets, remember when you and your dad tried to have me pay for those security cameras?
Objection. Mischaracterization.
No, Your Honor, I'm asking, it was part of her petition, she wrote it in the petition. I wanted to pay for my daddy's security cameras. I'm just asking if she remembers that.
That was part of the original petition?
I don't recall that.
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Overruled.
And Mr. Pamphlets, what is the answer to the question? Would you like me to rephrase the question? Sure thing. Do you remember when you and your dad tried to have me pay for your security cameras?
Well, why don't you put it, lay a foundation, that it was in the original petition that she had filed?
Right.
The original request for relief, was that part of the original hearing
Yes.
in Salem?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you remember that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Remember when you brought it up at the end of the hearing there, and I said, I objected to it, and I said, well, Your Honor, it was with Judge Stephen there, and I said, well, there was actually another valid security incident when someone was banging on their walls, and then a boy asked the daughter at dinner, and they make it sound like the security cameras are about me. Your Honor, this is clearly fraudulent. And then your attorney actually retorted to that, saying, we contest that.
Objection. Relevance. What is the
How is this
relevance of this?
Well, it's relevant for two reasons, Your Honor. One is because first of all, in Attorney Brown's motion to strike objection, he had this ridiculous little pepper line about, now I should have to pay for the fees in this case. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But it's also important to show the motive and intent. The motive and intent has from the get-go has been to bully and harass me. And this is a very palpable way of observing that. In other ways, it's much more difficult to observe that. For a man, a 48-year-old man, to install a security camera system on his house, after a nice boy he's known for 5 years asked out his daughter to dinner and said he's never going to come back to his house again, after Dave gave me his no trespassing order, for him to claim that those security cameras were about me and then try to make me pay for it, when there had been an incident right prior to when I asked her out, someone coming up to her house at night, banging on her, house, and there's evidence for it. And then David puts that, and she puts it, she wants to make me pay for those security cameras because I asked out a girl for dinner.
That relief was not granted by the court, correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
so how's that relevant to the proceeding today?
Because it shows a pattern of bad faith and malicious conduct.
Okay, I want to sustain the objection, okay?
To the whole topic of this.
Yes, because that was a claim that was made. Apparently, there wasn't sufficient evidence for the court to enter finding. But you have no evidence to indicate that that was malicious.
No, sir, there is, in the parts of that exhibit, there is evidence. So I have evidence that they actually knew that was false when they made that claim in court, and that's...
Let's sustain the objection.
Okay.
So please continue.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Mr. Pantelis, on a scale of 1 to 10, how scared were you when I was when I was stalking you in Aruba the other day?
Objection.
Okay. What, the other day?
She said yesterday, Your Honor, that she was like in the pool or something in Aruba. David just went on this very lavish vacation to Aruba. And she was there, and she said yesterday that when she was on vacation, she had to get out of the water or something and go up to her mommy because she thought she saw me there stalking her.
That was testimony when she discussed the effects of this man's conduct in the last year, how it has affected her.
Okay. Well, if it was direct exam, then it's subject to cross-examination. So you went on vacation with your family
Yes.
to Aruba?
Yes.
Okay. So you can ask, and that was just recently?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Pantelis, on a scale of 1 to 10, how scared were you when you found me in Aruba stalking you?
Well, again, she didn't find, apparently, my understanding is that she thought she saw you. Okay,
Yes.
maybe you can ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did she feel when she thought she had seen you? But you're assuming facts
Oh, okay.
that are not in evidence, because she indicated that she did not see you. She thought she saw you, but you weren't there.
So, Mr. Pantelis, it's true that a lot of these accusations are just part of like a neurotic, delusional victim mindset type personality.
Sustain is the form of the question. Again, you're giving information, facts,
I'm sorry.
and then you're asking, that's not a proper basis, okay?
Yes,
You
sir.
need to ask the question, but leave out the editorial comments,
Of
okay?
course, of course. Mr. Pantelis, is it your belief that I was in Aruba?
I thought I saw you, but we checked and it wasn't you. So I
Okay.
do not believe you were there unless you did not make yourself visible.
So, Mr. Pantelis, on a scale of 1 to 10, how scared were you when I actually flew a remote-controlled surveillance drone up to your bedroom window?
I thought we were still in Aruba.
Well, we moved on from that, sir. She said
Well,
that-
she never answered the question about the scale of 1 to 10.
Well, yes, sir, she indicated that she didn't see me there, so I was wrong to even ask that, because it's been established that I wasn't there.
But you asked the question of how she, on a scale of 1 to 10, how
Right.
did she feel when she thought she saw you there? So I'll
Yeah.
ask the question. On a scale of 1 to 10, when you thought you saw the petitioning in Aruba, when you were in a pool, how did you feel?
I would
That's a fairly
say I was
general-
very scared because
Question.
I don't know how the stalking order is in another country, if it's still upheld or if there's loopholes or anything. So obviously I was very scared, and it's a relaxing time for my family, trying to, have a break, and, it's something we look forward to almost every year or every other year. And when he's trying to ruin at least something that is in another country that we've separated from, our life at home, it's scary that, the lengths, if he were to be there.
When you believe that, what action, if any, did you take?
I had my mom go and check. 'Cause
Check what?
the person, because they had, I had seen them at first walk along the beach and then in my pool area, so I had her check.
Well,
it.
why did you think it was the petitioning?
It looked so similar, it was so weird, It was that I didn't see head on, I saw the side profile, it looked very similar.
Any questions based on the courts?
I noted that, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Pantelis, it's true that I also, part of my stalking was I flew a remote-controlled surveillance drone up to your bedroom window, right?
That was never proven that it was you, but we had suspicions because we had a security person check on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Pantelis. That is, so you had a security person check on whether or not someone had flown a RC drone up to your window?
Objection, Your Honor. This is not part of the petition, nor is it something she's testified as a basis for her wanting to...
But it's part of the original petition?
No, Your Honor, it's a new accusation that this family has told other people in society that I have done.
Okay, why did you think that then?
There was a night that I was seeing lights and it was like 12:30, and I live on a hill, so when the cars come down the hill, even at night with high beams, you wouldn't be able to tell. And so there's these bright lights in my window, and at first I thought it was like a police with a good flashlight or something, because I was hearing the walkie-talkie noises. And so I was up to the window, and every time I would open the window, nothing was open the shades, nothing was there. And so I had my brother, I'm you have to listen to this, if you hear it again, something's weird. And so he looked at it, as soon as we heard it, we opened the blinds, and nothing was there. And so when we were telling the security person,
Who's the security person?
he was a family friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So-
why was this person there?
Oh, we had hired him
Why?
because we needed more security for our house and for our network, and to make sure that no one was going into anything personal.
Okay. And what were the concerns? Why you and I?
Based on how he's obtained things.
Who's he?
Paul.
Okay.
How he knows private matters. Some things are very questionable on how he's known things. Or so like we've kind of gathered that he was using maybe other technology or tapping into some of our like phones or Wi-Fi or computers, anything like that, where we could have gotten information that he was not told or heard from. So that's why we needed to ensure that our home security was not being hacked into or anything. Or
What would make you believe that the petitioner had that ability?
because he's very smart, and he was the valedictorian, and he went to an Ivy League school. He's very smart. Very smart.
Judge, I'm sorry to interrupt, I just got the call that the jail is ready for us.
Okay. We're going to take a recess. We have that arraignment on the court. You may step down. If the parties want to take a break, use the bathroom, get a drink of water.
Mr. Pamphilis, I just want to clarify that the reason that you have suspected that I can, hack into your network and do these things is because I'm, quote, very smart. That's your reason.
You have also have private photos of me. You've hacked into my Twitter before, and so a normal person would have suspicion.
Mr. Pamphilis, are you aware that every single time you say I hacked into your Twitter, that's a separate count of defamation I can sue you for?
Objection.
Well, Your Honor, that was an accusation that was fully, thoroughly debunked in the original court hearing. For these people to repeat that, it reminds me of in February when David DePamphilis got up here and said, "Oh, well, you accosted my daughter at her cheer practice." These people are maliciously, willfully lying.
Objection, Your Honor, to this line of...
And so that's why I objected to that Twitter comment.
I'll sustain the objection. I think the witnesses testified with regard to her concerns of your abilities. Okay? And that's it. So if she's testifying as to her concerns, you asked her those questions, or based on the court's questioning.
Okay.
So I'm going to sustain the objection.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, your speculation that I flew a remote-controlled surveillance drone to your bedroom window is because you saw lights and I'm very smart. Correct?
You were the only person who would do something like that. So, if you want me to clarify you hacking into my Twitter account, I definitely can. So, what happened was
No, Your Honor, this is not my question.
I think there was an issue about hacking. You had asked a question about hacking in.
I'm going to apparently talk about that again in my testimony. I've already talked about it ad nauseum in the last hearing, and it's one of those little key phrases that she likes to repeat. It's a lie. But it's not part of my question. My question was about this new accusation. This is old stuff. This is 5 years old. David DePamphilis already sat down with me and resolved to me and said
Are we still talking about this drone?
Yes, Your Honor. I want to get through that first.
Okay. You may answer the question then. Please continue.
do you want me to talk about how I hacked my account?
Why you think that you had a concern that he would hack your account?
Okay, so I had a private conversation, that I said this in my first trial. So I had a private conversation with someone who asked me about a tweet that I was feeling. And I was just filling him in. I said it was a family friend, and I just kind of went over the events that made me feel like he was stalking me. And so I went to my cheer practice, and Paul had come up to me, and because he was dropping off his sister, and he had said, what are these messages about? Someone sent me screenshots to my sister or something like that, and about like the person I was talking to sent his sister screenshots showing her, and so I didn't believe any of that. And so I was driving his sister home, and my other friend was in the car, and he came outside from his house, because we were dropping her off at his house, and he had ran out of the house, and he had a letter, a handwritten letter, saying that he's never stalked me. And like the card said, it said something like if a cookie was or something was ever to attack you, or something like if anyone was ever attacking you, I'd stuff you in my mouth to protect you. But he crossed out attack and he wrote stalk, and then he had a handwritten note in that, and saying how like I'm his friend, like not a family friend, and that he's never cried in years, and he's cried over that. And so I hadn't talked to his sister because I did not believe that someone had sent her screenshots. It just did not make sense. And so then she said, you know, okay, that's not true, let me tell you, because I think she wanted to save our relationship over that, and this is true. And so I don't want to make you more fearful, but so she said, you were logged in on to my old phone. Your account was logged in. I go, I knew that to myself. I was like, I never logged in on her phone. My account was never on that. And so I still was not talking to her because I knew something was up. And so she had, then she told me, she goes, well, you know, all right. Like, so we were in the bathroom at center school, and I was at my cheer practice, and before cheer practice, and she had told me, she goes, Paul had me look over your shoulder, and so I knew your password and I knew your username, and I gave it to him. And so he had used that to go onto my account and read my messages. And then this can move over because I had changed my passwords, but I don't think I changed them enough. And so I believe that before all this, before I changed my passwords again, I believe he hacked into my other accounts without my knowledge. And I don't have complete evidence because, so on my Facebook, it has a security thing that it takes, and it shows you all the devices that have your account logged into that you're logged into, and it had a bunch of IP addresses, and my biggest mistake was logging out of every single one of those, because I had proof, and I had IP addresses, and there was like 6, it said it was on like 6 devices, and I only had 2. And that I knew I was logged on to, or I had 3. One was my school computer, one said it was connected to my Messenger account on my phone, and one said it was my Facebook account that I was on now, and that was the one that said active. And then the other ones, I have no idea where they were, but there was IP addresses, and I should not have deleted them because I believe they would have been tracked back to his house and his location. But I had logged out, so I do not have proof. But that is my speculation.
Do you feel better now, Mr. Pantelis?
Objection. Sustained.
So, Mr. Pantelis, I'd just like to clarify, because of everything you just said, therefore, that's why I flew a remote control drone to your window, right?
There is,
It's a yes or no question.
I have suspicions.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pantelis, I just want to clarify, you're now accusing me not only of having hacked into your Twitter account in 2013, but now your Facebook account, is that right?
I have belief based on previous true history.
Well, it's a yes or no. Do you believe that I hacked into your Facebook account and your Twitter account?
It is what I believe.
Okay. Kind of funny, though, because that wasn't in your motion to extend, right?
Objection, he's asking her about this on cross. And she's telling him.
Well,
I
I'll sustain the objection. I mean,
yeah.
that wasn't raised, but it's been raised by you during
So,
the
Mr.
cross-examination.
Mr. Pantelis, you're aware that IP addresses change all the time from the same devices, right?
I don't know much about that, but clearly you do. He does.
Yeah, well, clearly I do, because I never hacked into either of your accounts, and you have some ridiculous reason for thinking I did. So,
Objection. Not a question.
Sustained.
Mr. Pantelis, did you ever actually see and visually identify any sort of flying device by your window?
No, but that is what the security person told me, that what I heard and what I saw versus based on the lights, that is what it could have been, but I didn't know if that was true or not.
Okay.
I don't know, you're the one who's bringing this up right now, so I could never prove that it was you, so That's just what it is.
Well, it's also
That's
true that
just
you.
speculation.
Yeah. Well, it's also true that you can't even prove that anyone ever flew such a device at your window, right?
I'm never saying
Yeah.
that it was a drone, but that is what my professional security person
Right,
said.
professional. Yeah.
Your Honor, I think this stuff has been asked and answered.
Yeah.
The drone.
So, Mr. Pamphlets, when I wasn't busy hacking into your accounts, as you claim, was I ever, quote, hiding in the woods outside your house, as your father claimed?
He never said you were. He said we were fearful that you were, and so I had him go outside and check based on when the letter you delivered in March. So if you could stop
Yeah.
twisting the words.
Actually, the exact words were to check if you were in the woods again from February 16, 2018.
Okay.
So-
check
Whose
again.
words is that?
David DePamphilis' words. I don't have the transcript, but I remember it. It's something to see if you were in the woods
Well, you
again.
can, you
It
can
was an
indicate whether,
affirmation.
if those are the words or words to that
Yeah.
effect, okay? If the witness remembers that.
Yeah,
Whether, you were there at the last hearing with your father,
Yeah.
do you recall words to that effect?
Like
Or the
that,
exact words?
that he could have been in the woods and we checked. I mean, that's, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
yeah. But your dad actually said to make sure you weren't in the woods again, which is a statement which
We can ask
refers-
if she recalls that.
Yeah,
She doesn't recall the exact precise language,
Right.
or recalls, my understanding is words to the effect that she's testified as to what those words were, or to that effect. You understand the distinction?
right.
Do you understand?
Well, I understand the distinction between does she remember that her dad said that, or does she remember
Does
that
she
that
remember
happened?
specifically
Right.
with regard to the exact words that were said? She indicated she did not. She understands the words to that effect.
Right.
And that has a legal meaning,
Okay.
okay? Is that accurate?
Yes, but I can clarify what he's saying anyways, because my father, I believe is what he was saying, he was making sure he was checking the woods to make sure he wasn't in there again, meaning he was making sure again, not to see not that he was in the woods again.
So in other words, I was never found or seen in the woods.
No.
Right. Was I, quote, looking at you in my own backyard at my brother's party in 2016?
Yes, me and
Yeah.
Debbie were sitting on the walkway of your house, and I watched you move your chair because you were sitting with a circle of people, and you moved it to face it directly towards me and Debbie. And I don't remember if I
Yeah.
made a comment to Debbie or if I didn't, but I left very shortly after that.
Right. I'm a real stalker for looking at you, correct? Objection. So, Mr. Pamphless, when you saw me and had the ego to think that I was looking at you, did you actually see the...
Objection. Sustained for me.
So when you saw me and you inferred that I was looking at you, did you actually look who was in front of me and you saw my Aunt Karina and, Jamie's mother, Kristen, and I was talking to actually?
Well, actually, this is how it was. So there was this chair here, a chair here, like a chair here, a chair here. He was here. I was over here and sitting on the walkway. He's looking straight ahead. I made eye contact with him. If I wasn't looking at him, he would be looking this way or he'd be looking this way. There'd be a slight diagonal. There was not. I made eye contact.
Mr. Pamphless, it's true, I actually totally and intentionally ignored you that day, right?
You had come up to me and made sure you said hello.
Oh, I'm sorry for stalking.
Objection.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphless, the good
Is
news...
that an apology, or is that?
No, it was raw sarcasm. It was sarcasm, sir. I mean...
Please stop the sarcasm. If you're making an admission, that's one thing.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Mr. Pamphless, between the Aruba incident, between the unsubstantiated, as you admit, speculation that I had flown a remote-controlled drone, which your father disowned when I asked him about it 2 months ago, and between the hiding in the woods comment and this looking at you and stalking, is it fair to say that your accusations of stalking against me have been neurotic?
Objection to the form of the question.
Sustained.
Well, Your Honor, how would I rephrase that? I mean, it's neurotic. It's not a clinical term. It's just like an adjective. It's how she feels. It's
Well, you can ask her, for example, if she's hypervigilant with regard to alleged contact you
Right.
may have had with her, because she's alleged that she thought with the drone, she thought with the, at the event. So those are good, appropriate questions, okay?
Right.
But you could say whether or not that was reasonable, and whether or not this person is acting as a reasonable person to
Right.
think that, given the circumstances and the history.
Yeah. So, Mr. Pamphlets, given the circumstances and the history, would any reasonable person complain that they've been stalked because someone that they've known for 4 or 5 years looked at them at a party?
That is not the only thing you've done, and if that's what if you're trying to say that my ideas that could have been you and that you looked at me at a party are the only reasons why I'm here today, that is honestly so sad that you cannot see what your own actions have done and how you think they're normal. That is the problem, is you cannot see where the line is and how that you've crossed it. You have been in my belief, have been in violation of my stalking order for the entire year I've had it, because you have continued to harass me and my family with the letters, with going through my social media, with screenshotting, with the following up on my social life. You have been doing in your websites. You don't stop, and so. All the drone things have been me wondering and if it was you. Those are the side things. The main points are what you're not talking about and what you're not addressing.
So basically the main points are when I have exercised my First Amendment right to complain about the injustice you've done against me to other people. That's what you're talking about, right?
Objection.
Anyway, she's talking about these main points for her when I've spoken to other
Well,
people.
would the main points be the basis of the petition to extend?
Right.
Okay.
But I'm trying to show that.
But isn't that the main points that this petitioner has made?
Right, but they're based off of the history of stalking, which never existed, so that's my point.
But a court of competent jurisdiction entered a finding that there was stalking in the original petition, correct?
Well, yes, Your Honor, but that was an incorrect finding, so my only course for justice is for me to present the new and unpresented before
But
evidence.
you had the opportunity to appeal, in fact, did appeal. So can't the court consider that Judge Stevens' order as a final order on stalking?
No, sir, because a couple of reasons. There is new evidence that shows the fraudulency of it. Also, because my rights were violated in a number of ways. A constitutional right to produce all proofs which are profitable to my defense was violated when I was unable to play the audio recording that didn't violate the law, and I said it didn't. So that was a violation of my rights. And second of all, the Supreme Court...
Weren't you charged with a criminal act for that?
Well, yeah, I was.
Weren't you pled guilty to that?
I did, because I wanted to get in my criminal complaint with David. It was a stupid choice, to be honest. But that shouldn't, but this...
Have you moved to vacate that conviction?
I don't think that's... I don't even know if that's possible. I haven't spent time researching this because I'm more concerned with the defamation that's being done against me.
But you cannot but you're now collaterally attacking your conviction, and you haven't sought to vacate that finding. And you're also trying to vacate the court's original finding of stalking by Judge Stevens in the Salem District Court. Then you've already exhausted your right to appeal on that.
Well, no, Your Honor, because there was an issue that I didn't raise, and
Well, isn't that an issue that you need to raise and you failed to raise? So can't the court consider that as a final order on stalking, not subject to collateral attack?
Well, this goes into the other motion that we have for this case.
Well, for that purpose, limited
Right.
purpose, I can understand that, because the court can consider that. But we
Right.
also have a final order of stalking that's been thoroughly litigated, that's been appealed to the Supreme Court, and that appeal has been denied. At least that's my understanding.
Well, sir, it wasn't a traditional denial. They did not hear my arguments.
But isn't that between you and the Supreme Court?
Well, yes, Your Honor, but since this court has carte blanche over whether or not to extend this order, and also it's a stalking order.
I disagree with that. My order is subject to review by the Supreme Court, okay? So you may file whatever appeal you think is appropriate to the Supreme Court if and when I enter a ruling that you don't agree with. But we're not at that point. We're here on an extension, and I've allowed you a lot of latitude to go to in terms of that original petition. But now you're attacking the validity of the court's finding of that, okay? And that's not proper. It's not appropriate, okay? You can, if you wish to raise some issues with regard to the original finding, I'll give you some latitude, but not to say that it was an error and that your rights were violated. You may feel that way, but the court doesn't look at it that way. The court looks at that as a final finding, okay, and a final order of stalking. Okay, is that clear?
Thank you for clarifying.
So please continue.
Isn't it true, Mr. Pantelis, that you suspected in December 2016, or your dad suspected, and then you attached on to the expectation that someone had actually broken into your house to install like wireless fiber optic spy cameras in your bedroom?
I had never believed you broke into my house. I believe that you have been in my house, because you have been, or Debbie has been in my house too. And I believe that if you had some sort of understanding of things that were of a private matter, then you could have, I don't know how you know them. And so for me to feel safer in my own bedroom, we had our security guy make sure there was no hidden cameras or anything, because those can be very microscopic. And I just wanted to have that peace of mind that I could feel safe in my own room without someone constantly overhearing me, because I feel as if I have no privacy now. So.
But Mr. Pantelis, if I didn't embed any, like fiber optic spy cameras in your room, how would I ever know that your dad likes Maseratis?
Objection, Your Honor. This cross-examination has gone on literally for hours, and we're getting
How's-
into things that.
I'm not sure about how Maseratis have to do.
I can accelerate it.
I went to get some Dunkin' Donuts, and I saw a Ferrari at the gas station. So,
So that was a reference.
I know it's a different type of car, but I was pretty impressed with the Ferrari.
David said in the original petition that one of the reasons he suspected that I had wiretapped his house with bugs, like broken in over the summer, was because the nice car I bought for this young woman back when I thought she was a deserving person happened to be the favorite car of David DePamphilis. And that really, really rubbed David DePamphilis the wrong way, and probably why we're here today. So David DePamphilis said this thing, which to me seems delusional, and I was just wondering if she agreed with that.
Okay, I'll let you try to establish some relevance, but I'm not sure about a Maserati that her father, well, your father likes Maserati. I like any car.
Yeah,
I drive a 2000
it's-
Toyota with 254,000 miles, so any kind of car, even a Toyota 2001 is a big deal for me. So, but let me ask you, okay? Your father likes cars?
Yes. No, he just likes Maserati, so that's.
And you knew that?
Yes, but he's acting as if that was the only thing he's known that he's done, but there's been other things.
Okay. I mean,
So-
did you attach, when this offer of this car was made, did you attach some significance to the fact that it was a Maserati?
No, I just said no. Obviously, I would not
Okay.
accept
You didn't
that.
think that because your father liked it, that you should like it too? Is that where you're going with this?
No.
Is that something?
No, Your Honor,
you should
where I'm
like?
going with this is David saw that, and one of the reasons he had such an acute explosion was to me, because that was his favorite car, and he said that to me, he's like, how did you know that I like Maseratis? I actually didn't know that, it was a coincidence. So it was
Okay, I
just
mean,
part of,
is that really an issue then, about whether or not?
well, I'm just trying to underscore the delusionality if they think that I implanted these cameras, and that's how I knew that.
But this witness indicated that she did not have any, place any significance on the fact it was a Maserati as opposed to a Ferrari or a Chevy.
Well, I think it was my dad's favorite car, but also he's just saying because the coincidence of the Maserati. There's other things he knows that he's made, that he's talked about that are of private, like things that people wouldn't know, and my dad would have never had a conversation with. I would never have a conversation with his sister about. Like, it's just weird. Like, it doesn't make.
But you did not attach any significance to that, that it was in fact this type of car as opposed to another car.
When I saw it,
Right,
yeah,
right.
no, I just, no.
Okay, and your reaction to that was not based upon the type of car, but that it was a car?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that clarify?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So in the interest of time, I had other questions about what I perceive to be fraudulent conduct to obtain that order, but as long as I can get through this next one and get my piece of evidence, then I can accelerate that. So I'm, on that topic, It is true, Mr. Pamphilus, that, and I don't remember, maybe you mentioned it in court, maybe not, but one of the instances of my alleged stalking was this sort of like event out in public at a turkey trot, at like a running event sometime, when I came up to you and made you uncomfortable or something, right?
You had it videotaped, which is weird.
Yeah.
But me and Debbie we went to the turkey trot together. It's like on Thanksgiving morning, it's like a walk. And I decided that it would be in best interest for me to go up to him, greet him, hug him, and get it over with so I didn't have to see them the rest of the day. And he goes, oh, like, let's run together, let's walk together, whatever. I did not want to do that. You know, I wanted to have my time with my friend and go just enjoy the day and just have that over with and not have him, you know, making it his mission throughout the day to somehow see me again or hug me or whatever. So I wanted to get it over with in the beginning of the day, like before that, so, yeah.
What was the time frame of that?
I don't remember.
Does November 28th, 2013 sound familiar? Thanksgiving 2013, right, the turkey trot.
Sure.
Your Honor, I'd like either to approach the witness or have the bailiff deliver a video that's actually, it's actually video of this, what she's talking about.
How's this?
Well, it's extraordinarily relevant, and this is one of the
Relevant.
most important exhibits because this was a large matter in the original stalking petition, and there have been certain claims, some of which we just heard, about what in fact happened. And I'm just, you know, I'm not disagreeing with the plaintiff. I would like to let her view this video. I have a speaker up here, and I just want to go through it 20 seconds at a time. It's only like a minute.
What's
and a half long.
the purpose of it?
You can
She's
tell.
testified to it. Her memory appears to be fairly clear. So
Right.
are you using it to try to refresh her memory when it doesn't need to be refreshed?
Well, this is a court, we are investigating what is the truth, and I have a record of the truth, so if the truth matches what the plaintiff says, then she should be believed. If the truth is completely different from what she has represented, then she should be looked at very suspiciously.
Well, I'm going to
object to that.
sustain the objection. I'm not sure how this is relevant in terms of a video back in 2013. Okay, the witness has already testified. You've cross-examined the witness on it.
Your Honor.
She was 12 years old at the time, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And it's not one of the bases of Judge Stevens' order finding the stalking. So I think it's remote, and I agree with the court.
Your Honor, first of all, I have a First Amendment right to disseminate this video and also to disseminate the statements that were made about it. And if I can't get that satisfaction here in court, I'm going to have to do it somewhere publicly on YouTube. And I want to give her the opportunity to give me her interpretation. So I think it's...
Is that a threat, Your Honor? I mean,
No,
what
it's-
is this?
It's not a criminal threat, actually, because I have a First Amendment right to share information, to share the accusations that were made against me, and to share a cell phone video.
You're showing some sort of document. What is that document you're showing?
Well, sir, this is the document I intend to use after showing the plaintiff.
What is it?
This
Let the court
is
know what it is.
a document. The first page is part of her stalking petition, in which she references this incident. And the next two pages are her testimony, in which she again references this incident to try to make me look like a stalker.
Can I see that, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Glenn. Good morning.
I do.
Just give me a minute.
Just 1 second, I do have a copy for
But hasn't this witness testified consistently with what's here?
you. No, Your Honor. Even already, she said two completely contrary things. She just said that she came up to me. You know, she punctuated it with this qualification of, oh, well, I came up to him just to get it over with. You know, she sort of changed the story, maybe anticipating my evidence. But there's already been a contradiction, and for this matter, this is a highly relevant issue. We got to get to the bottom of this. Which one is it? Did I stalk on that date, or did I not stalk? I mean, I think I'm guaranteed by Article 15 of the New Hampshire Constitution to, quote, produce any proofs that shall be profitable to my defense. I've been accused of stalking on this particular date. Moreover, it was the salient accusation of stalking.
But this was based on the prior incident, correct, and prior stalking.
No, Your Honor, it was
This wasn't the prior stalking petition?
Oh, yes, I mean, that was the only, yeah, this is the extension.
Right.
I'm trying to accelerate my, my cross on that stuff. If I can get through this, then that's good enough for me, I can just move on to the stuff that we have today. But this is very important for me because, you know, there's already been contrary information, this is a public accusation.
Well, you could testify as to your version of the events on that particular day. This witness has already been cross-examined on that, and frankly, it appears to be fairly consistent with her testimony at the underlying stalking hearing.
Your Honor, let the record indicate that she just said that she came up to me and approached me. When in that, she said that I came up to her and approached her unwantedly. Also, Your Honor, I would ask for the opinion of your jurisprudence, what is the appropriate venue within this hearing if there is not, you know, there's testimony, but there's also artifacts of evidence. And when it comes to a video exhibit, I mean, I do have thumb drives if necessary, but I don't think you're gonna go plug it in and watch the video. Typically, the way that you would view a video exhibit in court is to either hook it up or just have someone, the witness, look at it on a tablet and then report back to the court what they see. And so I do have a right under the 15th article of the New Hampshire Constitution to play this recording today in court, and I will defer to you on whether I can do that now or during my testimony.
Well, the petitioner has objected to it, correct?
Yes, you know, when we started this hearing yesterday afternoon, Your Honor, you said parties shall mark all their intended exhibits.
Right.
Okay, well, I don't know why this wasn't marked yesterday.
Well, what?
Because, Your Honor,
Why haven't you provided, again, it's sort of like catch-up. You continue to show documents and apparently videos you wish to show, and you haven't shown those to counsel yet.
sure, I can give him a thumb drive right now, but since it wasn't a paper exhibit, I thought just the listing of the A, B, C, D, that was just paper exhibits. I mean, I can't, like, take an iPad and just put like a sticker on it.
But did you let counsel know that you intended to show a video?
Yes, I mentioned it in the last hearing. You can have it right
I
here.
have no recollection of that.
He hasn't.
Well, you haven't because you just plopped it on his desk.
See if I can play this somewhere, Judge, I'm not sure.
Well, actually, Your Honor, we have a playing device right here, and Simon Brown, the plaintiff.
We're going to take a recess. The court's going to think about this. How many more types of video or things do you intend to use?
This is pretty much it, Your Honor. I mean, there's the Shaw's video, that's pretty quick. If maybe when I testify that, I'll ask about whether the court is satisfied if they believe my side of the story. But pretty much,
Well, I will tell you right now, I'm not going to give you an answer to that.
Okay.
It's up to the court to make a finding, but I'm not going to make a finding in the middle of the trial.
yes.
It's not, not usually.
To answer your original question, sir, this is the only sort of video. If I
If you
get
wish to
this,
present that in your case, you may do that, okay?
Okay.
If the basis of that is that it's inconsistent with what she's testified to, but you're showing a transcript that appears to be fairly consistent with her testimony on cross-examination, okay? If you wish to show it that somehow it's inconsistent
with the video.
with the video,
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah.
okay, let me think about that, okay? But again, this is related to an incident that occurred in the original petition that's been fully litigated. That's the concern the court has, is that we're not going to relitigate this. Judge Stephen, I can infer, addressed that issue, considered that issue, and made a decision, okay?
But, Your Honor, first of all, in the statute, the court will admit all evidence it considers relevant and factual for these cases. And, there are a lot of other things I could talk about. This is just the one I want to.
But it's not relitigation of that original underlying
No,
petition.
understood.
We're going to take a recess. Thank you. This is still an oath. With regard to the video of this turkey trot, for the limited purpose, if you wish to show that there's somehow an inconsistent statement, okay, if you can have the witness lay a foundation as to date and time, place of that video. Let me ask, were you aware that a video was being taken that day?
No.
If you saw the video, would you recognize it as that date and time and place?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so you could show,
Let me ask, is there audio for this video?
Your Honor, I think that this is the obscurantism again. This is a video.
Okay, is there audio?
It does have audio. And as David's lawyer told, I mean, this is beyond question. When you're on the street and you take a video, that's a public, you don't need anyone's consent. The whole wiretapping audio law thing is only when it's just audio. And it's like not a visible recorder. You will see in this video, it's self-evident. Her face is in the video. Someone's holding out. It's my sister's video. I told her I was going to use it. It's just a normal, casual, random video of my sister at this public event. Anyone at a public event or on the street, she was just having a video out, just, you know. It's like facing her own face, and it's a public video of a public event out in the street. There's no cost, you know. The obscurant doesn't work with the audio recording, but there's nothing in this video that would inculpate it under the wiretapping statute, as I think was Simon Brown's insinuation.
I'd like to see this video before.
You haven't seen it,
No.
right?
I have not.
Well, why don't you show the
Sure.
defense,
Sure.
petitioner's counsel first?
No problem.
Okay, you have some black box there. What's that? Is that a
Yes,
wireless?
sir. This is just a speaker.
Oh, okay.
You look like you're speaking like a mermaid. Was it track?
Are those track shoes?
Are they really ready for you? I got Callie. Right there.
Give her his own CJ's other track.
Oh, it looks like Callie.
I don't know, she passed me up there.
Hi, how are you? Hey, the call. I don't know. Call.
Is he cold?
Yeah, I think he must be. I'm so confused.
Oh, that's cold.
Wait, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go for head. Come with me.
Your brother?
Kevin, that was a critical part. Attorney Brown, can we go back for a second? Well, Attorney Brown, you silenced it during the critical part.
He's
Was
like
that
right,
intentional?
just right over here.
No, I'm just looking at it before.
Okay. Well, you want to take a recess and do this, then?
No.
Yeah, this way, it's not on the record, it's not in the presence of this way.
Okay.
So let's take a recess then.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Okay. So, counsel, you had the opportunity to review that.
I do object to it, Your Honor. Number one, it doesn't show any hug whatsoever. I don't know who's holding the recording object, but it's a close-up, I think, of Paul's sister's face where they're chatting at the turkey trot. And then there's no hugging involved in the entire video, so I don't understand the relevance at all.
Your Honor, the hug is an absolutely moot and irrelevant point. The testimony was actually about me coming up to her. She said that twice. Me coming up to her, not vice versa, and her feeling uncomfortable and nervous and not wanting to be around me. And also me saying certain things like, oh, I want to run with you or walk with you. And this video clearly demonstrates whether or not that is true.
But does that capture the entire turkey trot in your the interaction?
Well,
or is this just a snapshot?
It captures when we saw each other there. That was a momentary, yes, it does. It captures who approached who. Yes, it does. And that's what the primary claim was.
Does it capture the entire interaction?
No, it's not the whole conversation, but it's the beginning of the conversation and who approached who.
So it's not complete?
No, well, it's complete insofar as the statements are concerned. Because the
Well,
statements...
I'll allow you to show the witness, okay? I'll note your objection, counsel. So if you just want to start it,
And it's not long, it's only like a minute and 45 seconds.
okay.
I saw it, if it will save time.
Well, actually, Mr. Panthelis...
Or do you want, he can see it himself, or?
Okay, so if we can have it up here at the bench, if you want to come up, ma'am, so you can see it, and if the parties want to come up too. And if you want to manipulate this, so
I can do it remotely, thank
well,
God.
if you want to show it to me, if I touch it, it'll break. I have a great ability to break
Sir, I can do it remotely.
electronics if I touch them.
I
I can't operate, I'm not gonna try to operate your,
Someone just, I don't want to be near the person, so can I just, someone can play the video?
okay.
What is it?
You know, my idea of a laptop is a yellow pad of paper and a pen. That's my idea.
You look like you're like a drummer writing.
I don't want to touch it.
Those track shoes? Are they really writing shoes?
So who's this with the red sweatshirt?
So I just paused it. So can I ask Mr. Pamphilus a question?
No, I was at, who's this with the red?
That's just my sister.
Okay, please continue. No. I want to see the entire thing.
So should I just play it? Okay.
Yes.
Can I ask interstitial questions?
No.
Okay.
Not at this point, just play it.
Right there. Amber has like CJ's on the back. Oh, that looks like Callie.
I don't know, she passed me up there.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? Okay. Hey, wait, that's Paul. I don't know. Paul.
Is he cold?
Yeah, I think he must be. I'm so confused.
Oh, that's cold.
Wait, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go for heads. I don't want to come with me.
Your brother's short?
Yeah. There. Come with me. Wait. Oh, he's like just right over here. No, he just ran. He did there.
And then that's the end of the relevant interaction, Your Honor. You saw that she identified me from across the crowd with a stated, verbalized intention of my sister. I'm going to
Objection,
have
Your Honor.
her-
You testify, you can ask the witness question.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Pamphilus, we just saw a video, correct?
Correct.
And in that video, you are pictured, walking across the crowd with the stated, verbalized intention to, come say hi to me. Right?
I would like to clarify that his sister said, "Oh, there's Paul. Will you come with me?" Was that not heard amongst us all? Because she asked me to come with her. I did, and then we went up. And I think that because she had a video to her face, she would not have done that. No, she would never have taken just a video of her side face. I believe that. And then she acted confused as if, "Oh, hey, Paul, I didn't know my own brother would be here." I think it was orchestrated, and I think he wanted to, because he told in the last trial, he captured that moment. He said he had a video of him hugging me because he wanted to capture that memory. And that was 100%. He said it somewhere, and I think it should be in the transcript. He talked about him capturing a moment at the turkey trial. So I knew he had a video of this because he stated it. But the confusion that she had when she saw him and the random happened video that she had when we went up to him, that how she, "Oh, will you come with me to come say hi?" And every single time I see him, he's asking for a hug. So obviously I want to get it over with. And I did hug him. But it was like when you open your arms and like they open their arms. It was like a mutual one. And so I wanted to get it over with, that was for sure. And he had, what's also not in the clip is that he had said, "Oh, look, we should go run." And I was like, "No, I don't run." Like, I did not want to run. I wanted to walk and have fun with my cousin because my cousin was there too. And so what's not in that video is the fact that there was somehow a random video already playing and that it was weirdly at her face so that no one could really tell that she was out there recording. It was kind of like a, and so very suspicious because he had mentioned he had a video to capture the moment.
First of all, Your Honor, let the record indicate that these cell phones have front and back cameras, and I remember that my sister she said, "Oh, I accidentally did this video."
Objection, he's testifying.
But for that purpose. Mr. Pamphilus, did you miss in that video recording Did you miss who actually first noticed me?
It was Debbie. Oh, there's Paul.
Oh, okay. Your Honor, it seems like we missed a clear detail in that video. It's just the first 15 seconds. Can we play it again? Because my sister was not the first person to notice me.
Object, Your Honor, it's already been played.
Your Honor, in that video, it was actually Alice DePrima first noticed me, and then she said to my sister, "Oh, is that your brother? Isn't that correct?"
I honestly, all I hear, I couldn't hear the voices that well. If
Okay.
that's the case, then okay.
Well, I mean, should we establish that it's just going to take 15 seconds, Your Honor? Can we?
Well, the witness indicated she couldn't hear very clearly.
Okay.
If she was the one who said, oh, I noticed her, Debbie was the one who goes, oh, there's my brother, will you come to go see
Yeah.
me with them? So she had me go with her to see you. And then I got the hug over with because you repeatedly asked me to hug. And the weird fact is that you had graduated high school in when, that June? And so the fact that you're in college and I'm still in middle school during that time and you wanted to take a video to have that in memory, and you can't even say that you...
Who took the video?
You said that you had a friend. I remember you saying that.
remember.
You had a friend. Oh, you're trying to remember. You said you had a friend record that because as a memorable moment. And I bet you it's somewhere in these transcripts. I bet you.
Mr. Pamphlets, are you confusing a comment? It sounds very similar to a comment I made about my audio recording.
No, not confusing it, because
So,
I
yeah.
already knew you had a video of this before this day. So I would not have known that if you had not have mentioned it. And Debbie didn't, and if it's an accidental recording, I think when she was looking at the camera down multiple times, I think she would have stopped it if she realized it was accidentally recording.
Your Honor, it wasn't an accident, it was just a casual recording, right?
You said that.
Well, again, the witness, this is what the witness believed it.
Right. So, Mr. Pamphlets, going back to your own words, you actually said, and I'm going to make a reference to Exhibit T here, which I have submitted. You actually said on January 5th, 2017, when asked if there was an incident of stalking that happened at the Turkey Trot in Wyndham, you said, he came up to me, ... I felt really uncomfortable and nervous because I'm not there to spend time with them. And then...
What page of that?
That was on page 10, Your Honor.
T?
10 of T. Right, so the first page, yeah, so Exhibit T.
Okay,
is-
I have T and I have 6, 7, and 8. Do we have a different T?
I must have made an error numbering. Yes, sir.
So do we have, okay. So is this a new,
I numbered these this morning, that's why, Your Honor.
okay, so that probably should be you, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And now I can fix my error.
Okay, why don't you? And then why don't we go through the same process? Let's show the witness the transcript. I'll take a look at it first, please. Thank you. Okay, this looks to be, again, the stalking.
Page 1 is the stalking petition.
What's this page? It's like page 3 of 3.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing, Your Honor. It's page 1 of that exhibit.
Okay, page 1 of the exhibit, not of the stalking petition. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like you have part of the stalking petition, the original, and then you have a transcript from that hearing, page 10.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just take a look at that and let the court know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
So, Mr. Pamphlets, I was reading that transcript and you said that I came up to you on page 10, right? Did you say that?
Where? When Debbie had said, let's go see him, I think you saw us and we came up to each other. I don't know why
Your
you're
Honor.
acting like we tapped you on the shoulder.
I'd like to submit this to the court. The video clearly shows that she's walking across the crowd.
I was with your sister because you said, will you come see him with me?
Mr. Pantelis, did anyone compel you to come see me, or did you hear that someone had said, hey, I'm gonna go see Paul, do you want to come with me?
It wasn't, do you want to come with me? It was, will you come, you can replay it if you want,
Okay.
because it says, will you come see me? Will you
No.
come see him with me?
So do you allege that those were the exact words? Because I allege that the exact words were, does anyone want to come with me?
If that's what you allege, you can go replay it.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that. The words, does
What
anyone
I-
want to come with me, did not happen.
I object. I think these inquiries have been asked and answered. We are focusing in on one minute part of the petition that was granted from an incident that happened when she was 12 years old.
Your Honor,
I don't think it's relevant.
Well, the court has allowed you the opportunity to develop this form or this area of cross-examination, so let's move along, okay?
I haven't got, let me just get to my demonstration to this court that that video is very contrary to what she said in those exhibits.
Well, you may make that argument, okay? Okay, let's continue, please.
Move on, okay.
You've played it, you've asked questions, you've shown transcript.
Yes.
Okay, so we have at least three various forms.
So, Mr. Pantelis, your dad thinks I'm a threat to your safety, you think I'm a threat to your safety, but your dad's willing to put you in harm's way apparently by legally bullying me and attempt to force me to pay $10,000.
Objection.
Say it again, I'm sorry, say it again, you trailed off there.
Sorry, I was saying David is in the other matter, vexatiously prosecuting me for $10,000 of attorney's fees. And I just wanted to ask if that's consistent with a family who perceives that I'm actually a threat to their safety.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. Mr. Pantelis, if you're afraid someone is going to hurt you, do you unnecessarily provoke them with frivolous court motions?
Objection.
Just rephrase, sustain.
Mr. Pantelis, if you were afraid someone was going to hurt you, would you go out of your way to stir that person up with, I don't know, claims against their property or whatnot?
Claims against what? Again, you're trailing off.
Claims against their monetary property.
Objection.
Basis?
I think he's referring to a pleading in the other matter.
Which are you referencing?
The motion for attorney's fees, when I presented a valid stalking petition against David DePamphilis.
This is not about the equipment for.
No.
Check for, okay. So I'll sustain the objection.
So, Mr. Pantelis, do you feel any guilt for what you've done against me with this legal stuff?
I'm doing what I need to protect myself. I do not feel, I should never feel guilty for protecting myself. And I should never have to choose between having a future with you or having you ruin my future. You have given me no chance but to rely on legal help and legal protection.
Right. So I asked you out to dinner, I never spoke another word to you, and then you had no choice but to get legal protection. Right.
The problem is that's how he sees it. That's the problem. That is the problem. So
you're unwilling to answer the question?
the problem is you see it as you ask me out to dinner and I am going to get a, no, there's a much more than you asking me out to dinner. Are you gonna leave out the fact that you bought me over $100,000 car and I never had a relationship with you?
Well, and there's the matter of me stalking you with the turkey trot. But didn't we just see that that was false?
Objection.
Sustained.
So, Mr.
You're becoming an
Pantelis.
argument ask questions.
Yes, that's right. Mr. Pantelis, how about that whole 4A fiasco last semester, huh?
What was that?
4A, it's a sort of
4A.
class. It's like, so I'm referring to the Wyndham High School.
Well, if that's an acronym, I'm not
Yeah,
familiar with that
we have
acronym.
this sort of, at Wyndham, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, A and B. It's the way we split up the classes. So I'm gonna ask about her class, let's.
Objection. He's asking her questions about her current high school class schedule. What does that have
It's
to do
relevant, I'm
with
surprised
this matter?
he doesn't know.
Her current,
They didn't tell Simon Brown, that's kind of funny.
her current class schedule?
No, last semester, there was a completely relevant incident that happened. And I'm
Well,
surprised he doesn't know about it.
Make it offer of proof. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, basically, by coincidence, my sister and David's daughter were assigned to sit next to each other in Honors Modern World with Mr. Naroyan last semester.
With who?
With Mr. Naroyan, the teacher.
Okay.
And this was the first time that, my sister and David's daughter had to be together before this like since this whole legal abuse.
I've allowed you to aggressively advocate for your position. Now we're splitting infinitives. Okay, I'm giving you some leeway, okay? But it's not appropriate unless you can establish some relevance as to what your sister and this
Right.
witness, they sat together in a class.
There was another part I didn't get to. What I was going with is that she betrayed a sense of guilt and shame because she couldn't even handle sitting next to my sister, and she went to the teacher and made him go switch the arrangement of the whole class so that they didn't have to sit next to each other. And
Let me ask you, if that was true, how does that help your position?
because it shows that the guilt and shame of what she's
Guilt
done.
or shame or fear?
Fear of it. She doesn't claim that she's so scared of my sister.
I would say about the sister. I'll give you some latitude, okay? So you can ask the question. Go ahead.
Mr. Pamphilis, was your proposal through your parents to get the seats, the seating arrangement rearranged in that class, did that come from a feeling of shame of having to see my sister?
Well, that's a question.
Oh,
So finish it to shame.
yeah, like the shame of being reminded of all this, having to sit next to my sister.
No, because I know your sister was involved in a lot of these things, seeing that she took a video of things. And so obviously I didn't want to sit next to someone who she's been helping get information for me, seeing she also looked over my shoulder and took my username, and that she told me that. So that's true. So she knows she took my username over my shoulder. So I knew she was helping him. I don't know why, but I knew she was helping him. And obviously I don't want to be sitting with her and having her talk about things, or having her see my schoolwork or anything that she could relate information to him. Guilt and shame, that's why there's a problem, because he can't see anyone else's side or point of view.
That's fine, Your Honor. I mean, let the record indicate that her behavior indicated guilt and shame, and they had to go to
Objection, that's the
It's not a big point.
question,
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Sustain, that wasn't the answer.
Well, right, I have no objection to the answer. I mean, I disagree with it, but, with my question, if I don't like the answer, I can't object to it. So we can move on.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, yesterday you said that, when you deleted those accounts right before the stalking hearing with your father, you didn't really, delete any evidence because you knew I already had the screenshots. But isn't it true that I never, ever submitted to you a screenshot of those other exhibits that are useful to me, which I only yesterday submitted? I.e. the one of your boyfriend calling me out with the initials?
Clearly you have been on my social media for a while, so anything that I have posted before, anything that you felt that you could have used against me or put me down for, you would have already screenshotted it, or you would have already somehow taken a picture of my entire profile. So I honestly, you really think I'm trying to get rid of anything when you clearly have what you need?
Mr. Pamphilis, with that June 21st post that we talked about yesterday with the middle fingers and the boyfriend, you were obviously trying to bait me into violating your stalking.
Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustain.
Did we have this question, Your Honor?
Well, I think at length you were talking.
Well,
yesterday.
I tacked this. Well, I tacked this particular one on because I said, "Oh my God, I forgot to ask that question." The one about baiting me into violating the order.
Well, she's been cross-examining for, almost 4 hours?
No.
I don't think we need to go back into territory that's already covered.
Well, I'll give you some latitude about the issue about baiting to violate. Very specific question.
Obviously, I was not baiting you to violate anything. I was letting you know that I am standing up for myself, and that was my way. I already answered this. I already said this was me showing my independency, and that was my voice. That was my voice, because he's always talking about how nice I was. I wish very early on I wasn't so nice. And I didn't give him that sense of, oh, she loves me with a hello. So.
Mr. Pamphilis, do you enjoy stroking your ego?
Objection.
Sustain.
Mr. Pamphilis, you told this court yesterday that my posting your own defamatory motion against me, to extend, on the website, makes you, quote, look like someone you're not. Is that correct?
You're posting pages in like an essay of how it's fraudulent. Are you not gonna acknowledge any of that?
Actually, there are 2 documents on that website, a total of 2. One is your motion, one is my objection to your motion, correct?
I don't know what it is, but what it talks about is that how you believe it's fraudulent, and when you look at my name, that is what comes up, is how why he thinks it's fraudulent, and then another link to, I don't really remember what it was, and then the court case. So that's what I'm referring to. So I don't know if that was a letter to Simon or what it was, but that's what I'm referring to.
Are you averring before this court that the documents on that webpage are above and beyond solely the 2 documents, your motion to extend and my objection to it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's letters to the attorney or what it is, but there's a lot of pages of stuff you have, whether it's pictures or the letter that was sent to my house, or...
Actually, aren't you the one who entered that as a public artifact and I just reposted your own filing that had that letter as an exhibit?
What do you mean posted?
Didn't you just make reference to the March letter, Mr. Panteliss, that was sent to your house?
Yes, I'm talking about what that is on your website.
And that's on the website, though, because it's part of your own defamatory filing with this court. Motion to sustain.
Objection also asked and answered yesterday.
Mr. Panteliss, do you know that it's actually against the court rules, apparently, to file exhibits with those motions to extend as you did?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Do you think I'm going to let you take everything I built for myself and tear it to pieces?
Why are you repeating what I said?
I'm asking you a question, Mr. Panteliss.
I'm not taking. How am I taking anything you've built and thrown it to pieces when you made a website about my family doing that to us?
I'm asking the questions. So, do you think that by falsely accusing me of stalking, I'm going to let you take everything I built for myself and tear it to pieces?
Objection.
Sustained for the question.
So, Mr. Panteliss, yesterday you said in that letter I wrote to your attorney, to David's attorney, that I, quote, referenced you in sexual terms. But was that true, or did I just comment objectively that David has a sexually experienced dog?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, what's the basis for that? I didn't reference her in sexual terms. I just made that objective description, and that was it. So.
Not relevant.
Okay. So, Mr. Panteliss, that letter that I wrote to Attorney Brown, your father's attorney, did I just write him that letter out of the blue, or was it a response to a legal threat I received?
It was most likely a response. That wasn't a threat, but it was most likely a response to something that went clearly over the top, because you called me the Wyndham Gossip Object Slut, which was your own terms, because I'm not a Wyndham Gossip Object Slut.
So basically you're angry because of it, right?
No, I'm upset that you're trying to portray me as someone I'm not, because I have always had respect for myself and had faith in God. When you're saying I don't have faith in God, and how I got confirmed without even caring and assuming stuff about my life. That's
So, Mr. Panteliss, at any time in February 2017, did you find yourself on your bed in Salisbury?
I did not.
Objection, Your Honor.
What, on your bed and where?
In Salisbury. That's her beach house.
Objection, Your Honor.
How's this relevant?
Well, it contradicts what you just said. She's now trying to tell the court that she's a moral person, that the characterizations of her are false, and I...
Witness's virtue is not at issue here.
Okay, then I agree with the objection.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Panteliss, you mentioned the Finsta account, and you said that you thought that I hacked into it.
You had the pretty...
I didn't ask a question.
We're sliding back into questions that were asked yesterday.
Well, it's a brand new question. I wanted to ask...
Same topic.
She accused me of hacking into it. I never asked a question about that. And it was also in regards to what she just said about herself. I was going to ask what the name of that account was.
You may ask that.
What was the name of that account?
First of all, let me just say this. No one sent him screenshots of my pictures. And I have asked people who follow that account, and every single person has that account, and everyone posts the same stuff. And he's trying to make me out as a person very different from his sister, but back in 8th grade, I was the one trying to help his sister. So I took her on a walk to the rail trail, and I'm not going to get into details, but I was trying to help her. And once we got to high school, we had drifted apart, but I was still happy with the friendship we've had. And so the fact that he's trying to say that people have sent screenshots to him, like he said before about the text message, about the messages on my other account, gives me a very strong belief that it's him himself who's in my account. In my account, everyone had a funny account name. People had it like, it was like either like raunchy terms or just silly terms, and so mine was Tipsy Tina 69, and then once he tried to make it public, I changed it to Tipsy Tina out of respect for my parents, because other people who are my friends have accounts just like that, like something with the side of sex, like just girls, you know, it's just a high school, I don't know, people are just, that's what their accounts are named, and he's trying to use that against me and trying to make me look like a non-moral person when you can't assume that from my social media.
Mr. Pamphilis, are we talking about the name of some account, or if it makes you look like a raunchy person, or are we talking about a false accusation that someone has hacked into your account?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, you've seen those screenshots and you postulate that I hacked into your account. So then how come they all say following, which proves that I didn't hack into your account?
I didn't even see that.
Well, that's convenient, don't you think?
Well,
Objection.
I would want to know.
I'll overrule.
I would want to know, for me to believe that there's no way you're hacking your account or my account or changing the pictures at all. I would want to know who sent screenshots.
I'm sure you'd want to know that, and also who wrote the letter in March.
Oh, so is it your sister for both? You're going to blame it all on her?
Mr. Pamphilis, I'm not here to give you answers, I'm asking the questions.
Well,
So, but again, it says following. The user interface, the appearance of the Instagram is following in those pictures that have demonstrated your behaviors that show the true person that you become. So
Objection.
Sustained. Again, you're making editorial
Oh, sorry
comments.
about that, sorry.
Please ask a question.
It says following in those screenshots. That proves that those pictures, those screenshots, were from someone who wasn't your account, because it wouldn't say following, correct?
that is usually the case unless you change something.
Right, so basically, I would have to, if I hacked into your account, you're saying that I would have had to like Photoshop in the following there.
I wouldn't think that'd be very hard for you to do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Occam's razor probably tells us that's not what's going on, right?
Repeat, please.
Never mind. So, Mr. Pamphilis, did you personally interview all 60 or however many people who you allowed into that account, asking them if they were the ones who shared with me, made the disclosure of your illegal behaviors?
Objection.
Sustained.
Of your behaviors?
This does not pertain to my restraining order and my extension. You're trying to attack my character, and I'm not going to let that happen.
Well, Mr. Pamphilis, can't we agree that you've massively attacked my character, calling me a stalker and a sexual predator and someone who has mental illness and is also a liar?
Objection, Your Honor. I think we're getting far.
If you want to answer that question, you can.
It's been proven that you've been a stalker.
Just like that time in the turkey trot?
Are you hung up on the fact that we hugged? Because if you're holding on to the only that thought of affection, that's very...
Mr. Pamphilis, it's actually, don't you think it's more like I'm hung up on the fact that there's a video of you walking across the crowd to say hi to me, when one of these accusations was the complete opposite and all of the other ones were that?
Sustained.
Yeah, so Mr. Pamphilis, what about that picture yesterday that we saw from another social encounter that you made certain representations about when you were pictured comfortably socializing with me? Don't you think that tells a consistent story?
What are we talking about?
Talking about the exhibit, the one where she's in it. Yeah, I forget the number of the exhibit. Maybe it was 8.
It's a picture he took when she was 12 years old at his graduation party.
Well, he says he took it, but this witness didn't recognize that, couldn't recognize the person's feet.
Right.
Is that the one we're referring to, down in the basement?
And my objection is, he asked and answered yesterday.
But we did get into that at some length though, but my recollection was that you were 11 or 12, and you were with his sister
Yeah.
in the basement, and you don't recall whose feet that was.
And for a long time, I was very nice, and he's mistaking that.
I mean,
as
is that
we were
what you?
friends.
Okay.
So,
But do you recall that? Is that was your testimony?
yeah, I don't.
Because you didn't know whose feet that was.
My memory isn't very strong, so there's a very strong chance that it was, but I don't remember that time.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, I don't think you answered my other question, though. Did you personally ask every single one of the 60 or so followers in that account if they were the ones who sent it to me?
I asked the people who were related to who talked with Debbie.
Okay. And how many of those people? How many people did you talk to?
I don't know.
Not me. So you just averred from this court that you did not interview every single person, and therefore you have no basis, correct, to conclude that I hacked into your account, right?
I can have as much suspicion on it as I want because it's been proven before because your sister told me. In the Wyndham Center School bathroom because she didn't want to lose our relationship over you.
Mr. Pamphilis, even what you described, what my sister said, is different from hacking. So I'm kind of
That's
curious about
hacking.
that.
You're going into my account without my knowledge.
Mr. Pamphilis, don't you know that it was openly and widely proven back then when I met with your parents and discussed that misunderstanding, that there were screenshots, as far as my memory is, and that David DePamphilis turned to me and said, "I'm glad you didn't hack into my daughter's account because things wouldn't have gone the way they did."
I don't know.
Objection.
If you recall.
I don't
Were you
know.
part of that conversation?
No, I wasn't part of any of the conversations with my parents, but I don't know what his deal is with the screenshots, but I suspect something is behind it. I'm not gonna say I trust screenshots, because anything can be changed with a picture in metadata or whatever that is.
Do you think that this is a convincing argument that I'm a stalker?
You're talking about the past when you're not talking about everything you've done throughout this year, or anything that's in the petition on why I want an extension.
But Mr. Pamphilis, we went through those things yesterday, and we concluded that all of those instances were me having nothing to do with you, but communicating to other people about my feelings about the situation, right?
Your First Amendment, you can't use that as an excuse for harming someone's life.
Are you a feminist, Mr. Pamphilis?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphilis, we can agree that this whole stalking thing, especially last year in the original petition, the image that was made out of me was of like this sexual and romantic compulsion for you, right?
No, we cannot make that agreement.
Oh, okay.
My vision of you is that you're a monster, and if you can't get your way and you can't take no for an answer, that you make it your mission to destroy their life.
So you and your father didn't paint a picture of me having a romantic and sexual compulsion for you?
You took a picture of me when I was 12 and portrayed it as flirtatious. If you're telling me that your love for me wasn't of that kind, then why are you seeing of me in a flirtatious manner and like talking about my legs in a certain way? It's very disturbing.
Well, Mr. Pamphilis, didn't you ever consider that 5 years after that picture was taken, I had to go through all my artifacts and look at pictures of you being inconsistent and typifying your appearance and interactions with me in such a way as to invalidate your false claims about your being uncomfortable?
Objection.
Sustained.
Mr. Pamphilis, you didn't really answer my question. You seem to contradict it. Did, last year in the stalking petition, you and your father paint a picture of me as part of my alleged stalking, having a romantic attraction, sexual attraction to you? Yes or no?
There was no painting a picture. We told the truth on my history and what had happened. And if that's how it makes you out to seem or makes you out to be based on true events, then so be it. But if you're going to claim that we've publicly painted you in a way and we're lying, then that is completely false, because I'm trying to live my life and I don't have time to sit here and make up things. Like, I don't have time for that.
Oh, you don't have
That is not what I'm doing. I'm trying to live my life.
Mr. Your Honor, she's gone off far afield from the question.
I don't think she's answering the question, Your Honor.
Next question.
But Mr. Pamphilis, two of those things at least have been proven false today, yesterday with those pictures and the video.
Objection,
How many
Your
other?
Honor, he's backtracking in the material covered
That's the
yesterday.
thing.
But at least, Mr. Pantelis, however you want to call it, in those stalking hearings, it was portrayed an image of me that I was attracted to you, correct?
You said you were attracted to me.
So then it should be a pretty simple question to answer, shouldn't it?
Yes?
Oh, thank you. So, we can agree that, also the word obsessed was used to describe you, right?
Yes?
Yeah. So, like a guy being obsessed with, in an attractive way with a woman and being repulsed are opposites, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you think you're still attracted to me?
I've never been attracted to you.
Okay. I don't know, maybe you drank too much last night. I said, did you think you were
Objection.
still attractive?
Your Honor, please stop the editorial comments.
Yes, Ron.
So you're trying to, you indicated that she drank too much last night?
I sorry, that was just like a
Where
natural
in the
comment.
world,
I
do
said,
you think that this witness is under the influence of alcohol, the drugs, illegal drugs today? And
No,
that
they
she's not
are.
able to testify? You made that representation. What do you base that on?
all of her
What do you
patterns-
base that on?
all of her patterns, sir. And I don't know yesterday, so I retract the comment. I apologize for the editorialism. I won't do it
It's
again.
more than that, though. Don't you understand that this court takes it seriously? Sometimes within this court, we have defendants, plaintiffs that come in and they're intoxicated. They can be held in contempt of court. I put people in jail for coming to court intoxicated. But you're making that, you're implying that, and you're asking the court to make that inference. That's totally inappropriate.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
I do understand.
And
Your
if you
Honor.
have no basis for that, that's very inappropriate, and the court could give sanctions against you for making such an inference.
I want to let the record reflect, which maybe it wasn't heard, and I
Let
apologize.
me ask, do you have any reason to believe that your client is under the influence of illegal drugs or alcohol today?
Absolutely not.
So why would you make that inference, or imply that,
Because-
for the court to infer that?
Auditorily, Your Honor, my question was, do you think you were still attractive to me?
Well, no, you prefaced your question with that, about being under, we can play it back. No, you gotta be careful with this stuff.
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand? I've allowed you, well, I've not allowed you, I've sustained objections regarding editorial comments. But now you're going far afield, okay? Where you're implying that this witness is under the influence of alcohol, was drinking. I take it when you said it was drinking. She's 17 years old, it would be illegal. You're also implying, asking the court to infer, that the parents apparently are allowing her to do this. So unless you have some basis for that today, that is totally inappropriate. I'm going to take a recess. You need to think about those questions. You need to be more careful in the questions that you're asking.
Yes,
okay?
Your Honor, may I let the
No.
record reflect?
No. No.
I don't disagree.
No.
The judge said no. Listen to the judge. You're not running this courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
Listen to the judge.
Complying.
Keep quiet.
No. Okay, I'm just going to give you an opportunity to kind of regroup, okay? If you want to speak with your parents that have been here, thank you for being here. I know you've been here all yesterday too. Just kind of regroup, just rethink, and then formulate your questions, okay? I'm going to give you that opportunity, but please don't do that. It's not appropriate. Just as if counsel asked you a question like that and made an editorial comment about you, the court would have the same concern. I'm not suggesting counsel has done that or would do that, but, so I have the same concern. We treat everyone that comes before this court, whether or not they're petitioners, petitionees, witnesses, with respect and dignity that we all deserve. Okay? So please, we'll take about 10-15 minutes. Please kind of regroup. If you want to rewrite your questions and stay away from those editorial issues, especially those attacks that impugn that this witness is under the influence of alcohol, potentially. Thank you.
All right.
I apologize, Your Honor, for speaking up, please.
That's okay. I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of regroup
Yeah.
and get your questions ready. So let's continue, okay?
For future reference, for my edification, because I'm a lawyer, I don't have much experience, to make sure I don't cut you off or talk over you, when is it appropriate for me to talk? As I thought the rule is once the judge is finished talking, then I can talk, but apparently not. So I just...
Well, wait for a pause. If there's no pause, I suppose people do interrupt. I interrupt parties, but sometimes that's by intent. Okay, that's by design to cut off the debate. It's usually not proper to cut off the judge or the court. I mean, if I'm saying or doing something inappropriate, please, that's the appropriate time, but not when I'm trying to make a decision or clarify a point, okay? That's all right, so let's just move along, okay?
Hey. So, Mr. Pamphless, when I asked you, do you think you are still attractive to me? It seems that you misheard me and you heard attracted instead of attractive, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I thought.
Objection to that question.
Okay, what's the difference between attractive and attracted?
Oh, it means, one means that I'm asking if she's attracted to me or if I'm attracted to her. Like, so I asked, so my error happened because I said, do you still think you are attractive to me? And then she said, no, I've never been attracted to you. And then I made my snide comment because she didn't hear my word right. I know she's not going to claim that she was attracted.
So if you want to clarify what you think is the distinction between being attracted by or attractive to.
It's, yeah. No, it's, I was asking if she thinks that she's attractive to me.
She's attractive to you?
Yeah, and since she heard attracted instead of attractive, she thought that I was asking, hey, are you attracted to me? It was the opposite.
Okay, you can clarify that, okay?
Right. And then I made my snide remark because she misheard it, which I understand. And then people who are intoxicated might have misheard it, which was inappropriate. Obviously, people who aren't intoxicated could also misheard it. And I made my snide comment for that reason. What I should have said is, I should have just clarified, Mr. Pamphless, I actually asked, do you think you are still attractive to me?
You have already stated before that you don't understand how I was ever attracted to you or whatever, so I don't care whether or not you're attracted to me because I've never wanted you to be, but that's not what's important because you went from a love obsession to now a hate obsession. It doesn't matter whether it's love or hate, but you're obsessed and it needs to stop.
Your Honor, can I ask Paul to step back? He's blocking my view.
Okay, or you could just move the seat over.
Okay, but I mean, he's.
Yeah, but just don't obscure the view between
That's fine.
counsel. Okay,
I've never made a single hateful comment against you.
okay, that's an editorial comment, okay?
Is that correct?
You've never made a single hateful comment towards me? Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay, well, in here, for example, the women gossip object slut. Where else? You have called me, I have held off since my mind is not preoccupied, and you highlighted this, so thank you. I have held off since my mind is not preoccupied at all with that ugly and disreputable whore. So,
Mr.
in my
Pamphless.
opinion, that's hateful.
The rude comments, correct. Those are rude comments. Can we agree to that?
Yes.
Right. They're comments, though, that betoken disinterest instead of interest, though, right?
Whether you're attracted to me or not, you have an obsession.
Okay.
So you are interested in my life. It may not be my appearance, but you are interested in my life.
So are you interested in my life by that logic because you're still accusing me?
No, because I have to deal with this and I have to protect myself.
Well, but wouldn't I say the same thing? I'm dealing with your accusations and protecting myself from my rights being taken away from me.
Objection.
Sustained.
So, Mr. Pamphless, you can agree that if I'm not attracted to you, there's no more stalking or any case for stalking, right?
Okay, so I said that it doesn't matter whether you find me attractive or not. Crimes happen all the time where the person is not attracted to them. You are still obsessed, whether that means you want to harm me or you love me so much that you need me to yourself. Either way, you're causing harm. And I don't care if you're attracted to me or not. It's still an obsession and it's still stalking.
If that's true, then how come all I've ever done is speak to my own defense and done nothing regarding you or trying to harm you?
Objection. He's asking her to comment on his accusation.
That concludes my cross-examination, Your Honor. She's not been useful.
No editorial,
Oh, sure.
okay, no editorial comment.